Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lorebeards 40,000. And today we have a great special guest. Chris, would you introduce yourself? Tell everybody who you are and where you're from.
So I'm Chris Hanley. I'm one of the writers for a few different games. I've worked on Wrath and Glory since Cubicle 7 took hold of the IP, and I've worked on a number of books for that. I've worked on Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I've done a tiny bit for Soulbound. I've got some work coming out. I've done some work, and there's work coming out for Old World RPG. So I think that covers all the Warhammer RPGs I've worked on. I've also worked on things like Vampire, Changeling Lost, and also an Iron Kingdoms RPG, so the 3rd edition called Iron Kingdoms Requiem. Even though they're going to do a new edition using the 2d6 system back from the previous edition. Yeah, they're going back to 2d6. Really? They're abandoning 5e.
Wow. Okay, that's wild. I didn't know that.
And then other things that are in flight, I've worked on a few other RPGs like Cult and what's the other one? And I'm the developer for Trash Humanism, which is a let's call it post-cyberpunk, more biopunk RPG that I'm developing in conjunction with the musician Le Destroy. So she did some music that appears on the Cyberpunk 2077 computer game.
Oh, so, love that soundtrack. Which song is hers?
She did one called... I feel really bad now. I can't know them off the top of my head.
I'll look it up
Kill,
later.
Kill, Kill, and there's another one called... I can't remember right now. I'd have to look it up.
Please pass on for me that I'm a huge fan. I love the music at Cyberpunk. Also, Chris, you are the possessor of a very envious head of hair. and you are the host of the Darker Days radio podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for like over 16 years now, that podcast. So it's horror RPGs. Our back catalogue is a lot of World of Darkness stuff, but we've branched out away from that more recently. Over the last few years, just because, there's only so much you can say about vampires.
Well, we have a show here on our channel called Lorebeards and Role-Playing, and one of these days we need to bring you on to talk about horror gaming, because I think that'd be a lot of fun to discuss. But today's topic is not role-playing games. It is Psykers in the Warhammer 40k universe, and this is something you know a little bit about, having worked on Wrath and Glory, and I'm sure... it props up in other aspects of the discussions you get into on Darker Days. So let's talk about the Psykers of Warhammer 40k. What is a Psyker, Chris Hanley?
Oh wow! So Psykers are possessed of a. If we're talking about humans, at least, it's the same for Eldari. They're possessed of a genetic ability, essentially, to open their minds and act as a channel to the reality bending powers of the warp. And Psykers, to lesser or greater extent, will have the ability to channel this energy carefully in a controlled manner, not just become a gateway for some demon to rip their way literally through you into real world. And psychic powers can cover quite a diverse spectrum of abilities. So we can think of classic things like telekinesis. We can think of things where you might have the ability to see events that happened in the past, or we get into the more kind of bombastic things where you're chucking, you're able to throw fireballs around or even reshape biology. So psychic powers is our magic, and I think that's also important to point out, is that there's a lot of overlap between the abilities of Psykers and then things where Psykers and I guess characters you consider are doing kind of more like mystical arts in some respects are using runes and spells, and there's kind of that blurring of these disciplines. Where one begins and the other one ends, I think is not quite distinct. Yeah.
they're actually the same thing.
Yeah.
And here's a fun fact, something that I found out when I was doing research on the Council of Nicaea. It was at the Council of Nicaea where the librarians came forward and said, listen, what if we separate the idea of psychic powers from sorcery and say sorcery is this thing over here and is bad and wrong, but psychic powers is what we do, and that's totally legit. Trust me, bro, it's fine. I was like, oh, so that's where that comes from.
I guess there's a I mean, that represents like the Imperium's need to kind of like codify and control it so that you're doing things in a very particular way that's to a degree repeatable, rather than sorcerers just doing crazy things and that are dangerous and also a bit nefarious and tapping into the chaos gods.
Yeah, the specific mention during the Council of Nicaea was that I think one of the things they labeled as sorcery, and definitely not Psykers, is making deals or pacts with beings of the warp. So, again, it's all the same thing. It's just hand wavy, whether this is or is not sorcery or psychic powers. But that's okay, because we're doing both today. We're really just concerned with, like, I think 3 main things here is just straight up, like, how strong are they? Like, that's the biggest one, right? The number one criteria. How big, how powerful, how impactful can it be? And then I guess there's a layer of skill involved. Like, you can have someone who's really strong but has no actual skill with that ability. So there's strength, and then there's skill, and then I guess lastly is just kind of the overall vibes or cool factor. Like, some of these characters, the things that they have done are so big and stylish and impactful and significant in the lore that it merits them being considered strong, even if necessarily they may not have the raw power.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking are the criteria. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's put up the list and we'll get started talking about them. Well, I have made 9 categories. This is the biggest tier list we've done to date for season 2 of Lorebeards 40K. Biggest tier list to date. And I think we got to start with alphabetically. It's Isaac Araman.
Ooh.
Now, Isaac Araman is a Space Marine librarian, which are typically more stronger than your average, garden variety psyker. He's definitely very skilled. He's been around for 10,000 years. He's exceptionally powerful as a librarian. He was considered like the right hand of Magnus. And on top of that, he cast a spell that affected every single Space Marine in his entire legion, which is called the Rubric of Ahriman, and is considered one of the greatest spells ever cast in Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, and I think what's also notable as a essentially as a chaos Space Marine sorcerer, because that's effectively what he is, he has not yet been completely racked by mutation to the point that he's growing a 3rd head and got tentacles everywhere. So while he's wielding a lot of power and tapping into some seriously dark aspects of the warp, he is still maintaining, I guess, a degree of sanity and control over his physical form. So that is not something to be sniffed at.
In fact, the Rubric of Ahriman was cast to try and stop the ravages of corruption on his legion, I should say. So I think for me, I think with the amount of strength and skill he's shown and the feats that he's performed, I think I would easily put him at the top of citywide or maybe in planetary scale.
I think planetary scale seems about right. If he's able to affect his entire legion,
tens of thousands of Space Marines.
Yeah, that's a large population that could be spread. I guess was spread around the galaxy at the time as well. He's also possessive of a lot of knowledge because he's chasing down a particular inquisitor to get knowledge. In fact, did he not did he not eventually break into the Black Library? I can't quite remember where the more recent the recent lore was with his quest for knowledge of all the nefarious knowledge hidden by the Harlequins. But
he got really, really close. He got really close. There's a novel called The War of the Labyrinth. Well, not a novel, sorry. War in the Labyrinth is a part of the Gathering Storm section. And that's where he confronted Yvraine, the Vizark, and the Incarn, which were all very, very powerful Inari champions in the Webway. And one of the strongest, it's basically the strongest trio that the Inari have, are those three. Because Yvraine is the herald of Iniad, the god of the dead. The Incarn is the physical manifestation or avatar of that god. And the Vizark is a peerless swordsman. So fighting off all three of those at the same time is pretty impressive as well. And this is where Yvraine actually used his desire to safeguard his legion against him. She snapped her fingers, fully resurrected some Thousand Sons, and then turned them back into dust. And he was like, okay, yeah, I don't want to mess with you.
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you start messing with the god of death, effect, or an avatar of the god of death anyway.
Yeah, he's Armin's very, very, very strong, but he's not quite a god like some of the other characters we're going to talk about here. All right, and now we get to talk about a pretty unusual character. That is, let me see if I can pronounce this correctly. It is Eilil, and she is a Shadow Seer. Yeah, Eilil Nuada, Shadow Seer of the Harlequins. She's got some interesting lore about her because she's very enigmatic and belongs to the Conclave of Tears, which is a very powerful group in the conglomeration of Eldari factions. So we don't know much about her, but we do know she is a Shadow Seer. Now, Shadow Seers are strong. I mean, again, your typical Psyker, typical garden variety Psyker. She's gonna kick the shit out of him. She's nowhere near Arx. She's nowhere near Armin's level.
No,
but I would think I would probably go ahead and put her in exceptionally strong, just because Shadow Seers in general are the Eldari have a lot of psychic potential, a lot of psychic strength. They're just better at it than humans are, generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, is she up there with Eldred Ulthron?
No, God, no.
No.
God, no.
No. So, yeah, I think basically is a very well trained member of that cast of that rank within the Harlequins. And again, by merit of being a Harlequin, will have access to knowledge within the Black Library. So, is clearly bringing particular potent knowledge onto the battlefield against certain adversaries. So, definitely better than a human, not a god. Delete everyone in a room. Not really. That's not really even Eldari style. So it's all very contained and controlled.
Well, it's Eldari style if you're Drukari.
Yeah.
We don't know about the Exodites. Corsairs too would also be happy to just basically wipe out everyone in the room. But I don't think Eilil's capable of doing that. Probably a duo or a trio she could probably take out pretty quick though.
Yeah. That's
fine. There's a big cast, so I don't mind spending, a little. I don't mind speeding through some of these because there is a lot.
Oh yeah. Some I'm less aware of because they're in they don't appear as much in the lore, or they're not like front of house as it were of Warhammer 40,000. They're more side characters in some respects. But yeah, so who we got next then?
Aldrich Voldus. Are you familiar with Aldrich?
Oh, let me check. It doesn't ring a bell actually. This one.
He's the Grandmaster of the Grey Knights.
Right. Yeah.
Warden of the Grey Knights Librarius. So he's the head of the psychic scholars of the Grey Knights. Now, the Grey Knights are the most powerful and psychically active loyalist Space Marine group. and
Yeah.
he's the head of their psychic guys, so we know he's pretty freaking strong.
Yes, and given the nature of the Grey Knights as being essentially demon hunters, he's certainly the type of psyker that on the battlefield more than happily will, wade into battle against a greater demon and slay them. So that already puts him somewhere at definitely at delete everyone in the room kind of level, or almost even affects the entire battlefield. Because if you can take on a greater demon, that changes, that can change the tide, the tide of battle for you.
So, well, I've got a couple of extra things for you. So, first of all, he did take on a greater demon, but not just any greater demon. He took on Makachin, which is one of the greater demons of Tzeentch, and he did so alongside Kaldor Drago, and was able to banish Makachin. Now, maybe Drago helped, and Drago is just crazy powerful anyway. So there's that. But on top of that, I should say, Games Workshop's description of Aldrich is that he wields more psychic might than any Grey Knight seen in centuries. So I think getting rid of a greater demon, and a named greater demon, not just any greater demon, and the fact that he's the strongest Grey Knight who are already super freaking strong. If you were to put like a typical Space Marine librarian on this list, where would you put them?
Okay, so I think generally a typical librarian. I think a librarian is normally somewhere at the exceptionally strong, I would say. The bottom strong is going to be, more than likely some of your psychers who are members of the Inquisition, just because they're dealing with the fact they've got a very mortal body to contend with, channeling these powers through, and don't also have the benefit of being long-lived to train as much. So I guess if the average librarian is exceptionally strong, then I would be quite happy putting this character at least at delete everyone in the room at the bare minimum.
Okay, I think we may want to reevaluate in a little bit, but I think that's a good spot for now, certainly. I do see a comment I'd like to address really quick. Gonzalo Vicente, I probably murdered that, I'm so sorry. Gonzalo Vicente, I believe is how you pronounce it. He says, no Ephriel Stern on the list. So here's the thing. My normal co-host is Alexis, and she is the biggest fangirl for Ephriel Stern, and she would just absolutely kill me if I didn't have her involved to talk about Ephriel Stern. We're probably gonna have a whole episode eventually about Ephriel Stern, because she is very strange. The heretic saints, she's very strange. And the fact that she's so strange meant that we would probably have a much harder time ranking her on this list, especially without Alexis. So that's why she's not around. All right, cool. How strange is Ephriel Stern, Chris?
Pretty strange. I mean, essentially breaks quite a lot of rules that we kind of accept in the 40,000 universe as well. So it's definitely out there.
Yeah, and is her powers faithful? Are they psychic in nature?
It's such a big question given her nature as a member of the Adeptus Sororitas. So yeah, I don't know, and that's the point.
I don't think we're meant to know exactly, but our next character is one that I was not familiar with until I started researching this. Do you know about Eladrios Caucasian?
Oh, no, that's a name I have never heard of in my readings. So who do we have here? I'm just going to quickly bring up on my... oh, wow. Okay, so... so this is an Eldari.
Yeah, he's the Farseer of Craft-Rolled Elatok.
Wow, okay. And is there much information on this character, or
not a great deal, but he did accomplish a really amazing feat for a Eldari Farseer, which are already very strong. Like, we already know that Farseers and Shadowseers are very, very strong. This guy, Aladrios, though, he did something I didn't even know was possible. And I'm going to explain it to you and to all the listeners so that you can get an idea. He discovered the location of the Alexis Assassin Temple.
Right.
Now, Chris, for people who don't know, what are the Alexis Assassins?
So, Alexis Assassins, I'm just, sorry, it's been a bit of a day and I'm a bit warm. So, Alexis Assassins are, if I can remember rightly, they're one of, are there 1, 2, 3, 4 assassin orders?
Many more than that, but
four
big
there's
ones.
4 that we know of.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember all the names of them. So,
Alexis, Calidus,
yes,
Eversor, and Vindicare are the top 4.
Vindicare. So Alexis is our psychic. I say psychic. They're the anti-psyker assassin order. So they are genetically possessed of not psychic powers, but they are psychic nulls, which is obviously an important mutation in humanity because it could be put to good work. It's known as the pariah gene. There's characters that we know in Eisenhorn that have it, like Bequin, and it's particularly important because also the Necrons have an interest in this genetic mutation because it forms. They basically just take the brains of these poor people that are possessed of this gene and put it to good use to kill psychers, because obviously Necrons hate psychic abilities and hate the warp.
Oh, do you know why? Do you know why?
Sorry?
Do you know why the Necrons hate the warp so much?
Well, this goes back to the war in heaven where they were fighting.
Everybody drank.
And it really represents the fact that Necrons are, when you look at Necrons, you look at the old ones, they're kind of on 2 sides of this battle of kind of not order and chaos, but it's kind of like physical reality and material versus the psychic and ephemeral so Alexis Assassins are terrifying, as they're able to also channel that pariah ability into a weapon, in essence, in their attacks against psychers.
They have a helmet called the Animus Speculum, and
that's the one.
This device actually feeds on psychic energy, and the fact that they're a null or a blank makes them essentially invulnerable to psychic attacks. So they're incredibly terrifying to specifically Eldari, and specifically even more Eldari Psykers.
And I guess the thing that's where this great act of this particular Psyker comes in is because I'm imagining, I haven't read it in a while, the Alexis Assassin Temple must be heavily shielded against the warp by the very nature you're going to have. It's a bit like the Pariah Nexus in that sense. You've got such a congregation of these pariahs that they're this blank. You're not able to. Whereas normally, I guess a soul is a bit of like a small mote of energy you see in the inky dark sea of the warp, and then obviously certain psychers are a much brighter candle or flame that you can spot. It's not the case with these assassins, that you don't see them. So how you determine where their temple is, I don't know. How powerful or how adept in your precognitive arts, I guess, do you have to be to determine where this temple is?
See, for me, that's where I wanted to make sure we talked about those criteria early, because this guy, he's not any stronger than a general Farseer, but he is more skilled, because the feat of finding the Alexis Temple, now it took him centuries to do it, but the fact that he was able to do it at all is insanely skilled. That's a massive skill. So Aladrios, I think I'm going to have to put him at the bottom of the delete everyone in the room rank. Stronger than a typical Farseer just by the sheer nature of his skill.
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess it represents rather than being sheer power, I'm sure it's more of the ability to analyze the ebb and flow of the warp, and to know that you're looking for something that isn't present. It's a bit, actually, that makes it a bit like, it's a bit of Obi-Wan when he's trying to look for that planet and being like, it's not in the Jedi Temple records. And it's like, well, you're looking for the fact that there's something missing. That's the thing that's guiding.
Yeah, and yeah, I gotta say, just as a quick side note, Ewan McGregor has accomplished an incredible feat. He's actually eclipsed Alec Guinness in my brain whenever I think about Obi-Wan now.
Oh yeah,
which is wild. And that's, for a man of my age to like have replaced Alec Guinness with Ewan McGregor, that speaks to his ability as an actor. He's very, very good. All right, next we got Be'lakor, the very first Demon Prince.
Ooh, Be'lakor. Is he planetary scale? I'm not too convinced on that. I mean, he is, as I say, the first Demon Prince. He commands the power of given to him by all of the Chaos Gods. He's playing games between them, so that they're always trying to keep him somewhere in the middle of their dominion and influence. That allows him to garner more power. But would I say he's planetary scale in power? I don't think so. I mean, also, Be'lakor's a bit of a different beast in Warhammer 40,000, say, compared to when we think of him in Mordheim. So his history on and what he's capable of is a little bit different. His goals are kind of the same, but what he's able to do is different.
Well, I can assure you he's definitely planetary scale. And
the
reason I say this is because in the Warzone Sheridan campaign, he descended upon the world of Colossi, which is the homeworld of House Raven, a knight household, and he submerged the entire planet in supernatural darkness. And this is how he was able to corrupt and even take the whole planet into the warp itself very briefly.
Right.
And it reappeared deep in the Imperium Nihilus as a demon world under his dominion. So, yeah, planetary scale, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty planetary scale.
I'm going to argue that's actually stronger than Ozek Araman, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to pull a planet into the warp is
even temporarily.
Even temporarily is a big deal just to move it.
There's a guy on this list we're going to talk about later who moved a moon, not a planet, but a moon, but moved that into the warp for decades. So there's a guy later on this list we're going to talk about as well with a similar feat. Okay, we got Ricky Chapman. Thank you for being a member. Appreciate you. Be'lakor is extremely powerful, but he's incompetent. I think that's not inaccurate.
It's not that, I wouldn't say it's quite incompetent, but it's his own hubris, as we know. I mean, that's what Be'lakor is. He has far too much confidence in what he's doing.
Yeah, well, as is pointed out by Gonzalo Vicente, he did get beaten by Araman.
True. Okay.
But I think that they are in the same category. I think that's fair. All right, here's a fun one for you. Do you know the Burning Princess?
I looked this up briefly, and I think it's been a while since I've read the book that she appears in. I was wondering, like, is this something from? I was wondering, is this the? I was initially thinking, was this the Psyker in the second Eisenhorn book, where you've got the whole parade and it all goes completely out of control as that alpha level Psyker goes off and kills everyone? But it's similar, but not. It's not that particular character, but it's another definitely dangerous alpha level Psyker.
The Burning Princess is one of my creations. She's from Dark Heresy game line. You can find her in the book Ascension, where she represents a very high, powerful psychic enemy. She has evaded every attempt at capture by the Inquisition, which is pretty impressive. But she is also pyrokinetic of the First Order, and it was described, her first recorded appearance was during an uprising where she left a trail of ash and shattered mines across the entire sector. Personally, I believe she could probably burn every single person in an entire city.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Not bad for a human.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. Would you say it's one of the things where if that was her goal of some sort of city level event, that would have to though require for her a lot of preparation to do. So,
sure, yeah. Not something she would do casually.
So it's not a casual, I just delete this entire city kind of job. It takes a bit more time and effort and maybe a lot of human sacrifices along the way.
Yeah, well, and to be clear, I think that's true of everybody on our list, is that we're ranking them at the height of their ability with all the prep and all the rituals done, rather than casual displays. Although some of the things that have been done by these people are, in fact, more or less casual displays. We will talk about that later. For the Burning Princess, though, burning a city is something she could definitely do, I believe, in my opinion. And I created her, so I think my opinion carries a little extra weight.
Yeah, sure. I think that's fair. I'm not going to argue.
All right, quick. That was a good one. So now we get to a character a lot of us know fairly well. I've read all the books. I bet you've read all the books.
Yeah.
Gregor Eisenhorn.
Let's say. Okay, so Eisenhorn, through the books, obviously undergoes a lot of further training, acquires certain objects that enhance his ability, such as the stone. Was it? Is it? It's not Noctilith, is it? It's something. I think it was something else. It's called the Lith anyway, or that gets carved to into a skull that forms his force rod. Was it force stave? Same difference anyway. So I think he's strong. I don't know where I would put him actually as exceptionally. Well, he could. No, I think exceptionally strong is really when he's got a demon host with him that he's also manipulating at the same time. But that's borrowing someone else's power to do that, such as taking out a Titan. So I would put him just at strong.
Well, I'm gonna say exceptionally strong, and here's why. I think he actually bound Carabael,
yeah,
demon host, and that's not something that just anybody can do. And on top of that, he has mastered some of the words of Enuncia, which is the language of creation, which is not necessarily psychic at all, but it does add to his repertoire of things he can do. So I'm going to argue that I'm going to put him exceptionally strong. I think is a good place for Gregor Eisenhorn, because he's definitely not your garden variety Psyker.
I don't think he's going to be. He's not top tier exceptionally strong. He's definitely middling in there.
No, I think that's definitely fair. And now we come to a guy. A lot of people on this chat are probably already like, "Oh, where's he going to put Eldrad? Where's he going to put Eldrad? Eldrad Ulthran, the most famous Eldar Farseer."
Yeah.
Possibly the oldest too.
Yes. I'm trying to think. I mean, he's obviously an exceptionally powerful kind of psychic and able to predict the future. That's mainly what he's capable of. He's gone toe to toe with various high-powered enemies and demons, but is he? I guess you could say he's potentially city-wide power if he's able to change fate. I mean, if he can change the fate of millions of people or billions, that's quite significant in its own way.
Well, Eldrad has accomplished, you want to talk about feats. This guy's been around in the lore for a very, very long time. So he's been able to do some pretty crazy stuff. First of all, like a couple of other Psykers on this list, he's able to manipulate time.
Yeah.
There's a book in a novel where he projects himself across the galaxy basically and halts the temporal flow, which is pretty wild. And this happens what is that book from? I'm trying to remember. It's I want to say it's Old Earth is where he does this, and that's crazy. Yeah, it was during the Horus Heresy. Yeah, it was definitely, this was him as a young Psyker.
Right.
And he did it with a psychic projection rather than being physically present. So that's pretty freaking strong. He also, Ayana Aryenal, the spirit seer of Ayandon, she described Eldrad being almost as blinding as the Emperor's Astronomicon navigational light, yet intimate and directed. So for a short period of time and across a limited scope, he was able to generate a beacon not unlike the Astronomicon, which is also a big deal. And let's talk about his far-seeing ability, the ability to read the skeins of fates. I'm sure you're aware that he caused the Second War for Armageddon.
Well, yeah, I mean, as is pretty much the style of the Eldar Farseers in general, is if they can save even a single Eldari soul at the cost of the lives of billions others, they'll do so. So, Armageddon in his books was just collateral damage.
And it's not for nothing. He carries around his staff has a hyperspatial link to the Ulthway's Infinity Circuit. It basically, his staff, the staff of Ulthamar, holds an entire council of Farseer's stones in it.
Mm.
So he is a exceptionally strong Psyker. I'm going to argue at least city level.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely city level because he's also previously contested with like a demon soul that inhabited a Blackstone Fortress's inner workings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, back in the day, I remember obviously when the 13th Black Crusade got rewritten. Obviously, I remember the initial one where Eldrad was gone, and when he attempted that, but obviously that got retconned. But that's still impressive, given that it's a pretty significant Chaos Demon to corrupt one of the talismans of Vol, and those space stations, space weapons are in their own right possessed of a lot of innate psychic energy that has to be overcome. So yeah, it's not a simple demon that you just kind of cast out by doing whatever sort of exorcism. He actually entered it and fought it toe to toe.
I'm willing to kick him up into planetary because stopping time is a really big deal, and only a very few Psykers can do it. Maybe not quite as strong as Ozek, but as Ahriman, but he's right up there. I'd say he's definitely, him and Ahriman are on a very similar level.
I guess I was going to say the tricky thing with him is, and I think often with the Eldari ones, is that their ability to shape the galaxy can be large and spanning and not directly obvious, because it's not like they're just going like, I'm just going to delete this city off the surface of a planet with a snap of my fingers. It's they have plans which take place over centuries, but the net result is shapes the galaxy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think his powers are more subtle than spectacular, but they exist.
Yeah.
Quick question: What's your theory on the origin of the Blackstone Fortresses?
The origin of them,
I think they were built by the Eldari Dominion to fight against the Necrons during the War in Heaven. That's what I think.
Oh yeah. I always know. I've always stood by that. They are definitely they are devices of Eldari construct, or at least Eldari construct directed by the old ones in their construction, so that they, they're the ultimate weapon against the Necrons and against a fully formed Catan. They're the perfect weapon to channel all that warp energy into something which is effectively an entity that feeds off stars. Like, you've got to have something just as big to annihilate something like that.
Well, they didn't even kill them; they just shattered them into millions of pieces.
And the Blackstone fortresses are really interesting in the sense that there's a lot of opportunity to explore the lore of them, because the Blackstone Fortress Warhammer Quest game is really great for that. It's such a great source of ideas if you want to then actually set a role play game in that same location.
Yeah, agreed. I think looking at our list right now, I feel pretty good about it. I feel like we've got people in the right spots.
Yeah, we've got some good anchor points that we can then gauge everyone else quite easily.
Yeah, when I was making this 9 tiers, I was like, 5 is just not enough. Like, I was thinking, like, because you got a garden variety Psyker, you've got your like trained Primaris or Inquisitor scale Psykers, then you've got your Space Marine Librarians, then you got your like heroes, then you got your lords, then you got your greater demons, then it just goes on and on and on. And I was like, there needs to be more than just 5.
Yeah.
But I think there's one we don't have to really work too hard to figure out. That's the Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah, the Emperor's a tough one because at this stage, because I think at the Emperor's height is clearly godlike, or at least very much on the cusp of it, because that's the critical point about the Emperor within the Horus heresy, is that it's that choice of, do you go all in and by fully realizing your potential to channel the powers of the warp and control reality like that also comes at a loss of in the Emperor's case, is still the loss of humanity. So it's like he's right there on the border between demigod and godlike, technically, I would say.
I believe over time he has become a god, because due to the worship of all the people.
Yeah.
And looking at the power of faith and how that works and how strong the Astronomicon is, he can cover most of the Milky Way galaxy, and he doesn't even have to be at home to do it. He was keeping that active all the way out to Ulanor during the Great Crusade.
Yeah, true. But the other thing is, though, it all comes down to the fact of like how different characters kind of express their power, because at the same time you can argue that the Emperor is still not even as powerful as they technically could be, because of the constraint. There's likely, it depends upon. Well, that's a big question if you're a member of the Inquisition and everything. It's like, is the Emperor in there, in that husk on top of the golden throne? Is that by being embodied within that husk, is that constraining the powers of the Emperor, or are the Emperor's powers more now dispersed, which is why we see characters like Ephraim Stern and so forth, who are saints and embodiments and avatars for the Emperor. So yeah, it's not a simple. There isn't a simple answer to it. So yeah, I think you can happily go with godlike. Yeah.
We got a super chat from IceVeins88. Thank you, IceVeins. He says, Emperor of Mankind, beloved by all, to ludicrously strong. That's kind of where I was going anyway, to be honest. We're in that zone, certainly in the top 3. Ludicrously strong. Thank you, Ice Veins. This is the part of the show, by the way, where I say super chats are the #1 way to support our channel, support more content at Lorebeards 40K, and support the hosts. So we're all very grateful to you for all of your super chats. Thank you, guys. I don't know how you do it on your show, Chris. You could probably teach me how better to make sure and tell them to like and subscribe and stuff like that.
Oh, I mean, I would do that, but I mean, as I'll say on Dark Days Radio, because I mean that's been a vehicle for everyone to get into their writing gigs and everything. So it's always been something we don't bother people with liking and subscribing because we just make it. If people listen, it's a bonus. So who's next on this? We've got Ezekiel there. I can just about see.
Yeah,
on my screen.
He is the chief librarian of the Dark Angels. Hey-o.
Yeah, those those traitors. No.
Whoa! They are the most loyal Legion, sir. The most loyal. They'll tell you. Just ask.
So, I mean, he's a librarian for starters. So again, we've got a base level of definitely in the exceptionally strong. I'm trying to think. Does he have any iconic kind of psychic powers that you kind of associate with him more than anyone else? I don't really.
He has a unique psychic discipline called Interomancy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a novel called The Eye of Ezekiel by Christian Dunn. You may know Christian. I don't know if you do, but in this novel, it was said that Ezekiel is the most powerful Psyker within the Dark Angels ranks since the Heresy. Which makes him, again, very strong. Probably the strongest in the Dark Angels and successor chapters, I would argue. And that's an extraordinary ceiling. Let's just say that. And then in the Eye of Ezekiel, he's able to telepathically manifest himself across 2 segmentums of the galaxy.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, that's a hell of a flex.
Also, what's important, I was just looking for the details on it for more recent things. I mean, he has also gone toe-to-toe with Vashtor with the aid of Lazarus and Azrael. So, and Vashtor is a more recent addition to 40K. Vashtor's a funny character in that respect because he's a demon prince, but is not aligned to any particular chaos god. So he's a bit like Be'lakor, but about, I guess, the corrupting influence of machinery on reality. So in that respect, he's kind of this weird chaos machine god, or at least demigod. So yeah, to go and fight him with 2 of your pals, one of whom is the leader is the chapter master of the Dark Angels, and the other one is effectively a grand master of the a master of the Dark Angels. Then you have to be pretty strong to fight Vashtor as the only Psyker involved in that battle.
Yeah, and one of our guys is pointing out that Vashtor could not technically be a demon prince because he was never immortal, but I mean,
he's a demon something.
Yeah. Potato. Ezekiel, yeah, he's pretty strong, and the chapter master, of course, the Dark Angels goes by a much grander title, the Supreme Grand Master Azrael, if you recall. Yeah. That guy is a little bit pretentious. I'm just going to say it.
Super pretentious.
Although the Dark Angels as a chapter are, well, he's got good reason to be pretentious because he has resources available to him that very few chapter masters have. I think that's fair to say. We got a couple super chats here. We got one from Azure Shadow, says, "Can't wait to see you place Kaldor Drago in S tier." I don't think so. We don't have an S tier, first of all, but he's strong. I don't know if he's quite that strong. And we got one from Spitfire 703. He says, it's coming in with a steel chair of a super chat, by the way. The Emperor is your typical monarch. Maybe they did something impressive in the past, but now he sits on his laurels doing nothing while his son tries to fix everything he let to fall into disrepair. Move him down to strong tier. Oh, how far the mighty have fallen. But Ezekiel, I think I would put him either at the top of exceptionally strong or the bottom of delete everyone in the room.
Yeah, I would say he's the top of exceptionally strong. He doesn't strike me as wanting to with anything that deletes everyone. Again, it's like projecting your psychic ability, your psychic self across 2 segmentums away. That's quite impressive, but also is quite particular. It's not, you can then turn that same psychic force to, I don't know, destroy legions of traitor guard or something like that.
Right, and now we get to our sanctioned Psyker from the Rogue Trader role-playing game. Are you familiar with this guy?
Sorry, which one is this?
Henrik von Kalix.
Hold on. Let me just put him in there. Let me just remind myself. My brain is, like I say, my brain's been a bit mushed. Oh yes, of course. Sorry, of course, Henrik. Yeah, I've played that game.
Sorry, Heinrichs. It's
Heinrich,
misspelled. It's misspelled. Heinrichs. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's a tough question because you can tailor him to however you want in the game. So it depends, like which way you go with using him. He's a biomancer, yeah, force sword.
Psychic demonology, also one of the craziest psychic disciplines there is.
Yeah, and he's very good at, like, essentially in game, he can do party-wide buffs to help everyone, but also in his own right can enhance his own fighting ability. I would say delete everyone in the room because
really? Oh, wow.
I think because he is able to channel. I think by the end of the game, I think you can have him channel enough power that he is able to move around the room with preternatural speed and gut everyone with his force sword.
Wow. Okay. That's actually far more impressive than I was considering him.
He's better than Eisenhorn, but that's for sure.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. You know what? This is one of the reasons why I'm really glad to have you on the show with us today, Chris. Chris and I have wanted to work together for a while, so this is really great to get a chance to hang out. We have a super chat. The Ice Veins, the Emperor protects. Back to ludicrously strong. Thank you, Ice Veins. Woo for the Emperor. Nice.
I mean, the Emperor's. Let's also just say, is it one person? I mean, is the Emperor really that strong, or is it just all the Psykers being sacrificed to him all the time? I mean, he's just on borrowed power.
I mean, he is the rule books canonically state he is the strongest Psyker known. So
yeah,
known to exist. Now we've got Adira Tlass, who is the mirror image opposite of Heinrichs von Kalix.
Yes. So I just need to remember what I would use her for in the game.
Something I really like about Heinrichs is he comes from a knight household world.
Yeah,
a knight world, which is really cool. He's got that very feudal aspect to him.
I really need to play the expansions to Rogue Trader because I've played through it all the way to the end, and I'm looking forward to Dark Heresy as well. That's going to be great.
Oh, me too, boy. Woo!
Because I mean, I'm going to be honest here, because I don't know if you're the same as me with this with computer RPGs. I'm not a fan of many because this is a brief aside. The reason why I could not gel with Fallout, right, is You know when you go like, oh, I've put all my stats into this, and then you do the shooting bit, and the problem with games like that is when they try and merge first-person shooting with it being a role-play game, you're like, I headshotted this person, but you're still telling me I missed? It's like, I had the reticule on them. And then my other problem with some RPGs, and this goes back to why I don't like Mass Effect, is Mass Effect tells you you're a space cop, yet when you go interact with people, you can't pull rank or anyone on anything. Instead, you have to do really stupid, postal missions. Like, go take this to this person and come back, and then I'll tell you this clue. It's like, no, I'm a cop. I surely should be able to force this information out of you, you gangster. Whereas I think in all credit due to Owlcat, I think they really nailed Warhammer 40,000 as an RPG, because you've got so many ways to play either quite, pious or following the Imperial Creed or following Imperial law, or be a complete git, or somewhere neatly in between. And that is very empowering, and I think just captures the 40,000 universe quite aptly.
Yeah, Owlcats does a really good job with their games.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of everything that they've produced, frankly.
Isria, though, I don't know.
She's just kind of a unsanctioned psyker and a diviner
yeah,
as well.
I don't think she's that strong even, so I guess strong.
Yeah, I think this is our first natural strong tier. Just and to be clear, the bottom tier of this tier is
still scary.
Still very strong. This is literally the strongest psychers in the setting that we're ranking. So the fact that she's on the list at all is kind of impressive.
Yeah, like below strong would be like the type of psychic characters that we see in like Necromunda and something.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a great one to put on there. What's his name in classic Necromunda that would awaken zombies? Why can't I think of his name?
Yeah, but you're thinking of Weirds from Necromunda.
Yeah. Let me just put in Necromunda zombies, because he's a classic zombie psyker or weird. Why can't I remember his name? Oh, he's great. It'll come to me while we go through the rest.
That's no problem. The next character is actually one of my absolute favorites to talk about. This guy is really fascinating. A former member of the Thousand Sons Legion, Iskander Kion, also known as the Kingbreaker.
Right. That's another name that I have not heard of, or I have forgotten.
Well, he comes from Aaron Dembski-Bowden's novels about the Black Legion.
Right.
Talon of Horus and the Black Legion, I think, are the names of the books. And he's a Thousand Sun sorcerer who joined Abaddon's Confederation rather than sticking with Magnus and his former brothers. But
right.
He's strong as hell.
What's the worst thing he's done then?
Well, he brought Magnus the Red to his knees.
That's impressive.
The books don't actually fully narrate how it's accomplished, but it's framed as a future event that will be explored in the third volume of the book. But Aaron Dembski-Bowden has stated that Iskander Kion did do this. Kion himself says that both Ahriman and Magnus surpass him in raw psychic strength, or psychic output, or however you want to put it. So he's definitely not as strong as Magnus. He's not as strong as Ahriman, but he's very, very strong. He has possibly the most impressive thing, not even the Magnus thing, is he towed a cruiser through space with telekinesis. 8 million tons of starship. He was like, nah, it's cool. You're coming with me.
I mean, that's, I don't know how impressive that is, because surely, telekinesis ultimately, I feel, is less about raw power and more about a certain level of perspective, because so the moment you realize that you're channeling the warp and mass is meaningless, then who cares?
Well, he towed this ship behind the Vengeful Spirit for months.
Hold on, I need to go. Hold on.
Sure thing. No problem. No problem. So, yeah, I'll wait till Chris gets back to keep explaining how Iskandar Khayan did something incredibly wild. But we do have a super chat here from Skitari Boy. He says, I demand Be'lakor slander. Put him at the bottom of the list. Poor Be'lakor, man. Nobody likes him. Oh, my gosh. Thank you, Skitari Boy, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Be'lakor, yeah, he's strong. Like, I literally cannot argue that he is not a strong Psyker or a strong being. I mean, planetary scale, right? Like, he's definitely up there. But, man, just Games Workshop definitely seems to forget about him a lot. And I know the writers generally are like, oh, yeah, Be'lakor's also here. They just kind of pop their heads up and look around every so often. Iskandar is... Oh, wait. Got one from Ricardo Andre here. Are we measuring raw power or knowledge? Okay, the three categories we're using here is raw power is the top one. How strong are they? That's literally the name of the episode. But strength is also a measure of skill. Like we talked about why the Alatok Farseer is on here, because he had the skill to locate the Alexis temple, which is incredible. That puts him on a whole other level than a typical Eldari Farseer. So there's skill, and then there's like just, whether or not they have accomplished something that is truly impressive. So it's your strength, your skill, and your feats, I guess is the way to put it. Eldrad is the most knowledge and power. Well, I think you yourself have argued, Ricardo, that the Eldar tend to be nerfed a little bit by Slaanesh, and that the fact that they can't go hog wild in the warp without attracting certain attention. So maybe Unchained Eldrad. Is he more knowledgeable than Ahriman? I mean, that's a debate. I'd like to have that debate. Is he stronger than Ahriman? They're very similar. Is he more skilled than Ahriman? Well, probably. I think if you're making the case that he should be higher on the chart than Ahriman, that's a fair point to make, because I would argue that Eldrad is more skilled than Ahriman is. So there's that. Eldrad did calm all of the warp that one time. Okay. It's tough for me. We will reevaluate. I'm happy to reevaluate. And I promise you, I looked at the craziest shit these people have done to try and help rank them where they go. So I don't feel like we're wildly off base for Eldrad. And I think if he gets adjusted, it's only going to go up. But I don't think I don't think he belongs in the top two tiers for sure. I would argue he's definitely not in the top two. But you could probably argue me into demigod level, because we have in the past we've spoken about Eldrad Althrin, and we talked about how he's essentially the Exarch, quote unquote, of Eldari Farseers. That he is kind of not only the most preeminent, but also the most skilled, the oldest, the epitome of what it means to be a Farseer. So, yeah, I mean, you could probably talk me around to maybe moving up one, but I don't think he would go any higher than that. Rush, hey, good to see you. Rush is saying my homemade librarian dreadnought with dual flamers contemptor is called Puff Puff Passes. Oh my god, I hate that I love that. Dual flamer contemptor also. Wow, that's wild. Librarian dread contemptor. Is that the one? Are you playing Horse Heresy? Is that from the Thousand Suns army list? I'm kind of curious where that goes. Mr. Mike of the Grail says, waiting for Kaldor Drago so I can begin my Grey Knights glazing. Kaldor is on the list. He's on the list because all Grey Knights are Psykers, and Kaldor has performed some amazing feats. So we're absolutely going to discuss it.
Sorry about that. I've got to do some stuff to do with my poor car. That was all. Where are we up to now?
We're still talking about Iskandar. I just wanted to mention he not only dragged the cruiser behind the Vengeful Spirit for months. When they got to their destination, he launched it at the Emperor's Children Demon World.
Right.
and it was, it's an 8 million ton ship hitting a planet. So Iskandar is probably planetary scale, although I might argue he's lesser than Ahriman, because he himself has said he's lesser than Ahriman.
Yeah, that seems fair. The Psyker I was wondering from Necromunda, which I would put at strong level. I think one of the strongest you can get from that is Karloth of Valor, who is a Psyker who also was able to control plague zombies. So he was effectively undead himself.
Interesting.
Which is, and so he appears in Outlanders back in like what that would be like 95, 96, I think that book.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, 96. There we go.
Since that time, unfortunately, Necromunda is basically 40K adjacent without actually being 40K.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a very narrow slice, the current setting, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. But yeah, it's very adjacent to 40K these days.
Well, you're a big fan of Necromunda and all the stuff that goes on there. So why don't you explain for the audience, like, what are weirds and how does psychic stuff work there?
I mean, weirds are essentially, they are what we know of psychers in Warhammer 40,000. They're just possessed of lesser powers, and so many of them will manifest their power along a particular kind of form. Again, like whether it'll be more kind of pyromancy or telekinesis. And then where things get, of course, somewhat weirder is when you've got the muties who exist near the sump, so they're exposed to a lot of radiation and toxins and chemicals that mutate them further. So you get stranger psychic abilities there. And then on top of that, you've got other things such as out in the Ash Wastes, you've got the Ash Waste Nomads. They have their own psychers who are able to manipulate the weather and the desert sands, and they have totem spirits they call upon. Whether these are manifestations of the Chaos Gods or other entities is a different topic for another day. And then we've got sanctioned psychers within the Enforcers. So they're kind of a bit what we would think of as sanctioned psychers. So again, they'll manifest their powers to be very good detectives, for example, or they'll be pariahs in their own right. They get, they'll use that or be psychically powerful in combat. And then if you want to get really strange with psychic abilities, there's the Dalak gang, and they have kind of some gestalt psychic powers that go on in that gang. So that's a really deeper topic, and the fact that the Dalak may not even be human is a whole can of worms to open up.
Oh yeah, they've got a weird like Lovecraftian thing going on with is it they're like corrupted gene stealers and stuff down in the hive?
I don't think they're even gene stealers. I think that they might be some other Xeno origin, or might even be related to the original alien creatures that were on Necromunda. I think I might just have to go to the back door again, so I'll be back.
No worries. I will talk about Kairos Fate Weaver while Chris is off for a minute. Kairos Fate Weaver is the Oracle of Tzeentch and the strongest, or mightiest, probably a better way to put it, of all of the Lords of Change, who are the greater demons of Tzeentch. And they have, he said that he has 2 heads, which basically all Lords of Change have 2 heads, which I don't know, that's really a thing that makes him different. But his heads, one sees all possible futures with perfect clarity, and the other perceives the past without any bias. So he is able to see everything except right now, which is interesting. It makes him kind of paradoxically helpless in the immediate moments. One head speaks the truth, the other head speaks lies. So his counsel is very treacherous, even though his knowledge is very vast. He's said to be Tzeentch's personal oracle and sits at the right hand of Tzeentch. Is that Is that true? We don't know. Like a lot of this is very biased information. Let's put it that way about Kairos, Fate Weaver, but he's definitely no standard greater demon. He has been capable of confronting folks like Eldrad and Ahriman on their same level. So I would argue he's at least a planetary scale. But his most remarkable thing is actually his omniscience, his knowledge of the past and the future. Because if you take that as it stands, then he knows literally everything, which is incredible. And I believe in the Horus Heresy, he actually offered Lorgar a choice that in fact reshaped all of history. So just think about that. He is potentially, I would say, certainly minimum affects an entire battlefield, and probably maximum demigod is kind of where I'm thinking. And at no point in between no point outside of that, I would argue. He's definitely not godlike, and he's not ludicrously strong. Well, I mean, you could argue seeing all the past and future is kind of ludicrously strong, but just a moment here. Got an audio issue. Got to correct it. There we go. Okay. So, sorry for the brief technical delay. We've got a comment from Rusher's headcanon. He was just a normal Canada goose that accidentally landed in the Well of Eternity, and now he's a demon goose. I mean, that's... Those damn geese are evil, aren't they? They're very evil. Kairos knows every possible future. He just has to guess which future will happen. Other characters have had this issue and have solved it by denying choice. I don't know about you, but it's not as OP as it sounds. Okay, fair. I think just because Chris is not here, and I'll ask him for his perspective later, but I'm going to go ahead and put him at the top of planetary scale. We don't know that he's affected an entire planet, but certainly with the ability to see the future and the past the way he does, it seems likely that he could. Also, greater demons of Tzeentch are stupidly strong with psychic power, so I feel like that's appropriate to have them pretty high. Outrageous, says Ricardo Andre. All right. Now we come to a man that many of you, including myself, are excited to discuss. Kaldor Drago, the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, the man who fought for thousands of years in the Warp, all by himself, unsupported, against all of the Chaos Gods, the man who carved his own name into the heart of Mortarion, a demon Primarch, and burned down parts of all four of the Chaos Gods' home realms, Kaldor Drago. This dude is the Giga Chad 40K. And his no, I think that pretty much nailed it, right? Like he's the guy that carved his own name into the heart of Mortarion, which has never been referenced again, I should point out. So now the Grey Knights are already elite. They're already the most psychically gifted chapter of Space Marines in the Imperium. Kaldor is the head of that. He's the Supreme Grand Master. So just without even talking about things he's done, he's already at affects an entire battlefield, I think. But yeah, wandering the realm of chaos for thousands of years, cutting down greater demons like it's his job. He actually made a weapon out of a bloodthirster's axe, I think, if I remember right. He's endured the direct attention of the Chaos Gods and has survived. How do you possibly rank that on a list like this? Mr. Mike the Grail, Kaldor's demigod tier at least. I mean, maybe at least. He's beaten Mortarion twice. In Pandarax, he soloed a Demon Prince without taking a single notable hit. He's fought demons on their own field. Yeah, now, granted, some of that is just martial skill, right? Like he's got a four sword, he's got a bolter, he's got to fight with these people. So some of it is martial skill, but you can't deny that Grey Knights use their psychic abilities to fight with as well. So he is crazy strong. Is he as strong as the Emperor? I mean, the things he's accomplished are ludicrous, but definitely not as strong as the Emperor. Is he like unto a god? No, I don't think his influence is quite that strong. Demigod, though, I think that's pretty reasonable. The feats that he's accomplished are certainly on par with someone like a Primarch. Just again, the fact of beating Mortarion twice, and not just beating him, but like humiliating him by signing his name on his own heart. That's wild. That is absolutely wild. Okay, how much is war gear, Lorebeards? Okay, war gear. Yeah, he's got really good war gear. That's true. Rush stronger, more. You're starting to sound like Ben Solo there. More. We've got a comment from Rush. He's Achilles coded for sure. Maybe Achilles had a flaw. Mr. Mark of the Grail, his sword is half a demon weapon. He's done things that have killed other Grey Knights Grandmasters. He's him, all capitals. Yeah, and he fought a demon Primarch twice. Yeah, Demigod. Certainly Demigod. We can reevaluate later, but I think that is a place that fits. And now we come to someone who's a bit more of a discussion. Khorne, the Chaos God Khorne, famously does not like psychics and psychic powers, famously prefers getting in there and fighting with his hands, But he's a Chaos God. He's one of the 4 ruinous powers. He is like unto a cosmic storm in the warp, and his presence can cause supernatural effects that are indistinguishable from psychic powers, even if they are technically not psychic powers. And I think you kind of have to rank the Chaos Gods up there with the Emperor. They're just incredibly, incredibly powerful. These beings define not just our galaxy, but the warp as a dimension and extend even beyond that. And Rush says, ludicrously strong. He's a Chaos God. It doesn't matter just where in top tier. Yeah, I'm gonna put him under the Emperor. He's not quite as, because the Emperor is the strongest Psyker that we know of. And likely the other Chaos Gods will push him a little further down because, again, psychics just isn't his bag, baby. But ludicrously strong, I think, is fair for Khorne.
I'm back. Sorry, I've had a heck of a day.
So sorry,
Khorne, ludicrously strong.
I hope we're not interrupting anything important. But
no, it's all dealt with now.
Good. I don't want to add to your stress. So what you missed?
Why was Be'lakor dropped to strong?
Oh, that was a super chat. Somebody really doesn't like Be'lakor.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I don't like him. Well, no, I kind of love and hate him at the same time.
You missed Iskander Khayan, which we ended up putting in planetary scale, and Kaldor Drago, the man who beat Mortarion twice and fought for thousands of years in the warp by himself, the Giga Chad of 40K himself. We moved him up to demigod status because beating a demon Primarch in the warp, also burning down large portions of the Chaos God's realms, also defeating numerous greater demons, that's Primarch shit. Yeah. We're going to give him demigod status. Kaldor Drago.
That's fair.
And we just talked about Khorne. I was mentioning that Khorne, while he's probably the weakest Chaos God in terms of psychic abilities, just because he doesn't like them, not because he isn't strong.
Yeah.
And I would argue that he can create supernatural effects that are indistinguishable from spells anyway, sufficiently advanced. So
yeah, and I mean, I guess you could say in some respects he just falls under like extreme biomancy in effect. He's gonna use his ability to make people stronger than is naturally possible. So
now you could argue that the Chaos Gods themselves do not belong on a list of strong psychers. Ricardo Andre is making that argument right now. I wanted to put them on the list just to give us a top tier, like how strong is this person, you know? So if Khorne is at the very, very tippy top of the pinnacle, along with the Emperor, then Khaldor Drago being 2 stages down feels about right.
Yeah.
Feels about right to me. That's the only reason. The only reason they're on this list is just as a point of comparison. We're not here to debate who's the strongest psychic power of the Chaos. Woo! But some of the Primarchs, who are definitely demigods, were in fact Psykers, and one of the strongest one of them is good old Conrad Kurz.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what would. I mean, is he planetary scale? Is he demigod scale? Normally when people talk about the Psykers amongst the Primarchs, we're talking like Magnus the Red and similar. Conrad Kurz, though, I'm not too certain. I mean, he's definitely going to kill everyone in the same room as him.
Yeah, probably not. But his psychic abilities are actually part of his fighting style. Like, he's able to see a little bit of the future. And what's interesting about Conrad's particular form of precognition is that he saw what was definitely going to happen. He didn't see possibilities. Like Kairos Fate Weaver, we also is also something when you missed, and we put him in the planetary scale. Kairos Fate Weaver sees the possible futures and all of the past, but he doesn't see the current time. But Conrad didn't see possible futures. Conrad saw what was absolutely going to occur.
Yeah, I mean that's significant. I mean, how far in the future, though, does that let him plan ahead? I mean, that's definitely going to be an asset in a fight, because the pathways of fate are much more concrete in the near future rather than looking hundreds or thousands of years in the future, like Eldred Althrin contends with. So.
So he can see fairly far in the future. He actually foresaw his own death and allowed it to happen because he wanted to die for various reasons. He does have some other abilities as well. He was able to use limited telekinesis. He could sort of become one with darkness and shadows. He could mask his presence from mind readers, things like that. But his precognitive gift is his most well-known psychic ability, and it's also the one he hated. It's the one he liked the least about it. He didn't want to see the future. It was forced upon him.
I think that was the thing, like being able to blend into the shadows and so forth. I think, again, it's the psychic abilities which really are combat enhancement. And while they'll be very good in a fight against other powerful individuals who aren't even psychically capable, but are superhumanly strong and agile. His abilities aren't extended to like deleting a city, affecting the entire battlefield. Possibly, yeah.
Well, certainly with just the strategic ability to see, what's going to happen. I think that's fair. Yeah, at the very least. So we have Ricardo Andre points out that there was a novel. He did see possible futures, the Karzan incident, and he had visions of all the heresy back before the Emperor, about 100 years. Okay, so he could see in the future 100 years. I still argue that he had far more precise precognition than most, because almost everything he foresaw came true. I would argue with that. So that's what I think is important.
I wonder if it's an interesting thing. Is it that he really saw the future, or was it that it was more that it was a psychic ability to? It's kind of weird. It's a philosophical thing. Was it more that he was acting to ensure that future played out. It's a pogo effect kind of thing that they call in Star
Trek. Chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he's able to guide the future. Not like
a Farseer.
No. Now Lorgar, no, there's a chief bastard if they're.
Chris, we did a whole episode on Erebus, and you should have seen the hate.
What shit.
You should have seen the hate coming out for Erebus.
I mean, yeah. So Lorgar, again, we're dealing with a Primarch here of the word bearer. So we're not just dealing with a Psyker here. We're dealing with someone that commands a lot of sorcery. So this is knowledge of Enuncia and other mystical arts along the way. So these are abilities that this is knowledge that you can wield so long as you've got the fortitude of will. You don't have to be yourself a direct fountain of psychic energy. You just know the ways to kind of puncture the holes in the right way. So yeah, combining that knowledge with his psychic abilities is definitely putting him upwards of citywide or further. I'm trying to think of his most. I mean, because of him, he would have ripped was ripping holes in reality for the helping the demons to invade Earth at the tail end of the Horus Heresy. So he's pretty significant.
Well, prior to Isstvan V, he was considered a very weak and unreliable Psyker. It's at the time on Isstvan V when he's confronted by and nearly killed by Corvus Corax that he finally lets slip all of the shackles and unleashes all of his psychic abilities. And from that point onward, he became a very formidable Psyker. In the novel Aurelian, he psychically torments a powerful greater demon and telepathically compels Horus to obey him despite the War Master's direct attempts at resistance. So those are big.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite a figure to want to contest against Horus, and if you're able to bend the will of Horus, that's also putting you. Horus is second to who? The Emperor, essentially. And again, I mean, it depends. It depends at what point, because are we talking about Horus before the very tail end of the Horus Heresy when?
Right. There's two versions of Horus. There's Horus the Primarch and Horus Ascended, which is when he's filled with all the powers of the four Chaos Gods. Lorgar compelled the regular Horus, not the Ascended Horus.
Yeah, and I think we need to make that distinction. So Ascended Horus is obviously, comparable to the Emperor. So that means then we're definitely at demigod, almost to godlike, I would say.
I'm going to disagree. I think compelling Horus is big, and I think tormenting a greater demon is big. But I would put that at effects an entire battlefield or citywide. Okay. Personally. You're saying you'd rather have him up here.
No, maybe. I mean, maybe planet to be. Let's go halfway between, because I mean, planetary scale is like he's able to open up warp rifts, allow demon invasions across a planet. That's big deal, especially on Earth where it would have had numerous psychic defenses in place from a host of psychers on that planet at that time.
Here's where I think we can agree. If I say that Lorgar is down here as a Primarch, and you say he's up here, I think as a demon Primarch, which he definitely is,
true.
I think he's right in that planetary scale.
Yeah,
demon Primarchs are nothing to be sneered at for sure.
No.
And speaking of demon Primarchs, we come to Mr. Hubris himself, Magnus the Red.
Oh, I mean, we're looking at someone that, again, commands vast amounts of psychic abilities, is a Primarch, did various things of puncturing away into the webway and to use it as a way of getting back to Earth to warn the Emperor, and in the process really messed up the Emperor's plans for using the webway.
Killed billions, by the way, when that happened.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be demigod scale, right?
Minimum. I think that's fair. Magnus could cast spells that could cross the entire galaxy. He could wander the deep areas of the warp without fear. Magnus is described as one of the strongest Psykers in the setting. Although, let's see here. He did teleport the entire world. Well, not the entire world. He teleported his entire legion to the warp, to the Eye of Terror, actually, from Prospero at the end of the burning of Prospero. It's implied heavily that he made a deal with Tzeentch to do that, but even so, very, very strong. And possibly his biggest psychic feats is when he tore apart Vulcan, the perpetual Primarch, down to the molecular level.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Now, it's not just it's not just a powerful attack. That's not just a wow, he was able to disintegrate a fellow Primarch. That's a demonstration of psychic ability so refined.
Yeah.
Because to comprehend and then disassemble biological code of a perpetual and a Primarch, that's insane. That's immensely powerful. And it's skillful too. That is surgical precision.
Yeah, I mean,
this occurs in the novel Echoes of Eternity for anybody who's curious.
He's definitely, I mean, I think the point is that he commands so much knowledge. It's like there's very few limits on his abilities, and he's not just unleashing, the powers of the warp in an uncontrolled, explosive ways. He's also, as you say, able to utilize it in a level of precision that is, I guess, the only people that would have that level of precision that you can compare to would be the Necrons themselves.
Well, the Necrons, of course, they don't have knowledge of psychic powers. They have knowledge of science. But it's effectively magic, right? At that point, that is sufficiently advanced technology.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm getting at. Yeah.
They can control time. They can open up pocket dimensions. The Necrons they have a magical level of tech. Yeah, you're right about that.
So I think we can definitely be happy to say he's a demigod.
I believe that's fair. I believe Magnus is a demigod psychically, and stronger than Kairos Fateweaver, stronger than Ahriman, certainly stronger than Iskandar, and stronger than Lorgar. Because even Lorgar, after becoming a demon prince, is still not as strong a Psyker as some of his brothers.
So, what was I going to say? So, I guess I would be keen to know how. It'd be one of those things. I would be keen to see a conflict between a character like Magnus and a character like Vastor, because I guess it brings up the question of at what point along that pathway to being this entity that commands the warp does the fact of your physical self become a barrier to that, or is it an asset to how powerful you are, because it bridges between the two? If you're being purely of the warp, does that have inherent the limitations in
certainly
in what I think there's just something interesting there about sitting right on that borderline, just as the Emperor does. And I guess that's why the Emperor didn't want to become just a full god entity in their own right.
Not for nothing. Magnus is not entirely whole either. When his back was broken on Prospero, and he transported the Legion to Sororitas, his spirit was broken into different shards and scattered, and he did not recover all of them. He recovered many, but not all. So he is a little bit diminished from where he once was. Not for nothing.
So who's next on this? Oh, right.
Malcador the Sigilite. Chris,
I mean,
I bet you have a lot to say about Malcador the Sigilite.
I mean, Malcador the Sigilite obviously is iconic in the fact that we're dealing with a character here that is, immortal or essentially immortal. Still effectively though a human. He's not been constructed, I guess, in the way we could say like a Primarch. In that respect, is more akin to the Emperor but then is not, because I mean, if we look at the Emperor's soul, consists of, if you go by that law, is an amalgam of the many souls of Psykers that sacrifice themselves together to form this perfect being. So Malcador the Sigilite, I think, is significant in that sense that they are just this singular person with momentous psychic abilities to take the role of the Emperor when required, such as sitting on the Golden Throne and holding back the demons that were knocking at the door of the broken webway portal. So that already puts them at bare minimum citywide power. I mean, we're talking planetary scale, maybe, with their psychic abilities.
Well, Malcador has been described as the second strongest human ever born on Terra, and he has accomplished some amazing feats. Are you familiar with a short story from the Horus Heresy called "The Last Council"?
No.
So this is there's a tense moment where Horus Lupercal is about to speak the name of one of the lost Primarchs. And Malcador's like, don't do it. Don't you do it. And Horus like opens his mouth, and Malcador psychically halts him, just freezes Horus. And this is a casual use of his power. I want to be very clear. It's a casual use of his power to shut down Horus, who is not, it's not Ascended Horus, it's regular Horus, but still, that's, as we mentioned, that is something that Lorgar had done, right?
Yeah.
And Lorgar's at planetary scale, but this is something casual. Malcador just literally just like, hey, stop. Just don't do that.
And like I said, I think it's pretty significant that this is someone that represents, I guess, peak human psychic evolution versus, like we say, like it's great that Magnus read such an amazing psychic, but that's there is the product of the Emperor's dabblings there. Malcador is. So these characters are quite curious because there's a few others like Malcador who are these these immortal humans that are capable of great psychic feats. So yeah, I would say, is it planetary scale though? I mean, yeah, freezing someone in place.
Here's the part I need to tell you. Remember how I said there was a moon that was hidden in the warp for many years?
Yes.
That moon was the moon of Titan.
On
yes. Saturn. And Malcador is the one who concealed it within the warp itself. And he did this until the second founding.
That's definitely planetary. Definitely on planetary scale.
Definitely planetary scale. I'm going to argue. So we know he's the second strongest human psyker, shut down Horus, hid Titan in the warp. Lorgar did not want to act against him. If you read about Monarchia, Lorgar, I think, smacks Malcador hard enough to break some bones, but he doesn't kill him. So he's got to be, I would argue that he's definitely stronger than Lorgar. I'd argue he's probably at the bottom of demigod, if not the top of planetary.
Yeah.
And listen, again, not for nothing, he did hold that golden throne down for a while, long enough.
Long enough, yeah.
It cost him his life, but he did it. He was able to hold on long enough, which is what Magnus was supposedly designed for, FYI. So I think it's fair to put him on the same level as Magnus.
So who got that next?
Actually, Chris, if you don't mind, do me a favor. Why don't you look at the field we've got so far and see if any of these you disagree with, and I would love to hear your perspective.
Disagree with? Here we.
I think I can make that a little bit bigger if that would help.
Yeah, it's a little small at my end. I don't know. Who do I disagree with? I don't feel anyone's out of place yet. I don't know. Is there anyone that pops out you think maybe in retrospect is maybe placed a little too high or too low?
Well, our chat is claiming that Eldrad is absolutely being screwed by being placed at planetary scale and not at demigod. So anti-Eldarism.
I mean, he's not blasting planets out of existence or moving them. As I said, it's a hard thing to judge because of course, as we said, his abilities are grand, but enacted in very small ways. And then what power he does wield that can be considered much more in your face, he would be using in battle against, when he has to go face to face with, say, a demon prince. But those things are not, that's, I guess, the most immediate things you would ever see him do. You would consider affects an entire battlefield. I mean, I guess if there's any record of him like freezing time for an entire planet, then maybe. But I think that's kind of the limit.
In the 2003 version of the 13th Black Crusade, he did 1v1 Slaanesh in the warp. That is what we're being told is one of his greatest feats.
Yeah, but that got retconned, so I don't care.
Is he and I mean the question is Eldrad more knowledgeable or skillful than Malkador? Malkador is very skillful and has been around at least as long as Eldrad, if not longer.
Yeah, well, I guess the point is, I guess the question is, even if you know the knowledge, it's the ability to wield it. And the thing is, we have to acknowledge is that while the Eldar are powerful psychers, they're kind of psychers with guardrails. That's the whole point of like the fact that humans are, Malkador kind of represents what I feel you would have from an Eldari if you took some of the limiters off.
You can argue that the presence of Slaanesh is a nerf on Eldari psychers.
Yeah, because you can't pull on your raw emotions to further power your psychic abilities. They have to do it in a much more controlled manner.
If you recall, they use the runes to represent they use symbols or the runes of the Eldari to kind of help shield them, to give them a level of remove from what it is they're trying to observe or study or affect. So
yeah, I'm happy where Eldrad is.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking that moment to look around because I'm going to get shit for it no matter where we put them. This list could be entirely scrambled and I would still get hate mail. So I appreciate someone coming along like yourself who has a breadth of knowledge in 40K who's able to say, no, that looks right. Now we come to one of my favorite psychers in the entire game, Mephiston.
Now, here we're dealing with a Blood Angels librarian.
That's right.
Now,
the head of their librarians, the chief librarian.
Yeah. So this is
The Lord of Death, they call him.
The Lord of Death, obviously has dealt with the almost psychic scars of the death of their Primarch, by withstanding the Black Rage. I mean, it's quite interesting, looking at a character like him, because, of course, in the Absolver's book, we deal with kind of a different approch to the Blood Angels, because the Absolvers are a Blood Angels second. Well, yeah, they're successor founding. So, and they have a way of negating the Black Rage and essentially are able to be Codex compliant by doing so. Though it does mean they have a big citadel filled with people with Space Marines that have gone mad from the visions that they have. So essentially, for me,
that guy over there, he looks like Horus.
Yeah. So essentially, then the Blood Angels can kind of again represent for me what we did for the Absolvers, but again are kind of let loose with their power, because again they're more rage fueled and they have that vampiric element to them, which of course is going to feature a lot in Mephistopheles' psychic abilities and powers. Is he, though, delete everyone in the room? He's definitely exceptionally strong. Is he delete everyone in the room? I mean, I feel he could likely do so just by empowering his body with psychic abilities to be a better fighter.
I mean, he's definitely at a bare minimum that, I think. Yeah. Question for you, Chris. Since the Absolvers are Blood Angel's successor, did they attend the devastation of Baal with all the other successors?
It's been a few months since we wrote some of this. I believe where we got to with it is that some of them did, and this is why the chapter master of the Absolvers was not in the Gilead sector. And then part of the plot is that there is a Absolvers captain who essentially becomes the chapter master for the time being. So is elevated to a very high rank, even though they're just like a Space Marine captain. But that's more of necessity. And then the chapter master returns along with many of the other chapter members, and also members of their chapter who are some more Primaris. And so there's this whole kind of thing of like, well, you've been gone for a while and you've helped out our Blood Angel founders, coming back through the warp, the barriers of the warp, to those who've been holding down the fort in the Gilead. So there's a lot of tension there, combined with the fact that there are all these internal secrets that the Absolvers have, because it's not widely known knowledge that they're a Blood Angel successor. And so there's that tension between, you've got some secrets, and then there's these new Primaris who do you trust, which is kind of the same problem that the Space Wolves have had as well.
With the Wolf Spear.
It's all very messy with the Primaris, and it's even more in particular. It's really messy when you deal with the Dark Angels. Do we tell these new boys, these new Primaris, all of our dirty little secrets? No,
they had to earn it. There's a Lazarus, the guy, the captain, Primaris Captain Lazarus. He had to earn it his way into the inner circle. He had to fight like a madman to get in there. Let's talk about Mephiston, though. Mephiston is also, he went through the Rubicon, so he's also a Primaris now. But there's a book called Mephiston, Darkness in the Blood, and it strongly implies that the Black Rage is actually a warp entity, like within the gene seed, lurking within the gene seed of the Blood Angels. And Mephiston, in that book, which again is very, let's just say it's through a certain lens, Mephiston defeats this entity, and that's how he's able to overcome the Black Rage. he's to transcend the Black Rage and emerge from his entombments under all that stone and become like, I have weathered the Black Rage. I've been through it. I've come out the other side. Which, just first of all, that alone makes him a man of incredible will.
The other thing which should be noted as well for any Psyker is that maintaining your sanity when dealing with the entire weight of the hive mind with the devastation of Baal is no simple feat. So
Agreed.
He's not just able to unleash a lot of power, he's also able to put up really significant mental barriers to psychic entities. So that's no surprise that he was able to ward off this apparent psychic entity that's behind the Black Rage, and then at the same time as well, maintain his abilities in battle against the Hive Fleet.
He's also one of the few Psykers on our list who can stop time.
That's always a cheeky power, isn't it? I guess
him and Eldrad. Him and Eldrad have both been able to stop time. With Mephiston, he did it casually, I should point out. And this was in the Mephiston Blood of Sanguinius, where he stopped time. And his telekinetic mastery is also quite impressive. During the Revenant Crusade, he hurled a charging aircraft weighing several tons 30 meters away with a wave of his hand.
The other thing with the devastation of Baal, which turns up as well, is the fact that he also, true, he had to use a number of librarians with him, but puncture a hole into the realm of Khorne in order to force back a bloodthirster. So
not just any bloodthirster, Kabanda.
Yeah, so again, named bloodthirsters are always more powerful than just average Joe bloodthirster. So that represents again that represents that force of will, because if you're a blood angel, right, who is always out for the slaughter and drinking blood, and you open a gateway into the realm of Khorne, right, and that is that's possibly the worst place to be as a blood angel, right? To maintain your sanity and not fall into an absolute bloodthirst. So I think he's pretty significant in that respect. Now, is he citywide, or is he affects the entire battlefield?
I'm going to default. I love the Blood Angels. Everybody knows this. I'm biased. I'm gonna let you to be the guy to put him where you want to put him, because I feel like you're going to do it accurately. I do feel he's stronger than Ezekiel.
Oh, yeah, he's stronger than Ezekiel. I think if he's got the ability to stop time and face off against significant enemies, I think he's definitely affects an entire battlefield. Like, he's the type of person that, will take out strategic elements in the enemy's battle lines, especially if he's able to stop time. That makes him perfect for those kind of singular battles. He also strikes me as the type of person that is also quite happy to go toe to toe with hive tyrants. So that's again quite terrifying.
It will make some people in the chat very happy to see him 2 steps below Eldrad. at least 2 steps below Eldrad. Now we come to our good friend, our emissary of the laughing grandfather of Nurgle, Demon Mortarion. Not standard Mortarion. Has to be Demon Mortarion.
Demon Mortarion. I mean, by merit of being a demon prince of a Primarch demon prince, he's surely got to be at demigod level, because of course he's going to be able to unleash through the power of the warp, is able to unleash plagues that will sweep a planet and scour it of life. So that he's definitely then at bare minimum planetary scale.
Well, he's definitely not a conventional Psyker. In fact, he was the head of the anti-Psyker faction in the Horus or in the Great Crusade era. He famously hated witches and witchery because of his upbringing on the world of Barbarous, which was ruled by tyrants who were aliens, or they were Xenos sorcerers that ruled from these mountaintops. And one of them sort of adopted him, and he hated that guy, hated him. So he was not a conventional Psyker, but even before he became a demon, he destroyed a demon through sheer psychic force, which is kind of interesting. But that demon's dying words were "Hail, Master of the Plague." Just FYI, you know. But once he became a demon Primarch, his sorcerer's capabilities were now very strong and more direct.
Yeah.
And we know that he can shadow step across short distances by merging with and emerging from darkness. He can command disease and decay through psychic manifestations. His mere presence corrupts reality with the blight of Nurgle. But he hasn't really done anything with that power beyond just sort of having it.
Yeah, that's why I said it's like, I feel it's, again, it feels like it's planetary scale. Like he can, appear on some world, and it may not be immediate, but through some grand ritual that he's done through various means, unleash some plague upon it. And that is a momentous task, but he's not striking me like, again, the likes of Malkador or Magnus. He's certainly not possessed of anywhere near as much sorcerous knowledge as those two.
So where do you think he belongs?
I'd be quite happy with planetary, at least top end citywide up to planetary.
Top end city sounds right to me. Again, he's strong. He just hasn't really done anything. Like, we don't know his level of skill. And we did say there's three categories. There's strength, there's skill, and there's feats. He just doesn't have the feats. It doesn't seem to have the skill. He does seem to have the strength, which I think puts him at a certain level. And again, Demon Primarch, you're right. I mean, that's just right there, a baseline of strength and power. Is he a stronger Psyker than Mephiston? Ooh, right? Like, we're definitely in some very tight, razor thin margins here, I would say.
Again, it's the difference between sometimes it's the difference between going toe to toe with, say, a demon and unleashing, obliterating bolts of psychic energy and so forth, versus much grander effects that, slay millions.
Ricardo Andre is saying that I have heard Eldrad 1v7 Lords of Change, one of which was Kairos. Do you know where that's from? I can't find a reference to that anywhere. So is it possible you imagine that? I don't know. I don't think that is a thing. But I think we've got him in a pretty good spot. So let us continue with Nayal Stormcaller, another big name librarian.
Well, I'm a much more have a bit more intimate knowledge of him of late, because I worked on converting over the psychic powers from 10th edition into the Sons of Rust book for Wrath and Glory. So that was a bit of a challenge, because 10th edition 40k has many psychic powers. They're all basically glorified guns. We don't have the other psychic abilities that Eldrad might have, or that we may find in older books that he would be able to utilize, which aren't so martial in nature. So he's able, though, to do some, I think, at his height, and utilizing the runic kind of sorcery of the world of I can't remember where they're from. Fenris.
The Vilka
because there's the tribal magic of Fenris, that's the runic magic. He's able to call upon, by his name, massive storms when required, and those can encompass an entire battlefield, and shroud, the Space Wolf forces for their benefit, while also, devastating lightning blasts on the enemy forces. So I'm definitely putting him in affects an entire battlefield.
I think at the bottom of that tier. I don't think he's as strong as Mephiston.
No.
I don't think he's as strong as Mephiston. I think affects an entire battlefield purely because of his skill. I would actually argue that he's not as strong as some of the characters in Delete Everyone in the Room, but his skill with his particular magic is very, very, and the feat that he's accomplished with it, the Battle of Gorswirl, where he basically used a storm to wipe everybody off the field. His feats and his skill, this is a rare example of someone where those two parts pushed him higher rather than his raw power, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm just trying to think of what other particular, I'm just trying to remind myself, is there any other particular psychic abilities? I mean, this is the problem with, I'm just going to say this is it's the problem with some of the more, with the evolution of Warhammer 40,000 as a war game, is that some of the things that we kind of knew from second edition 40k, where there's a lot more of the powers there are they're not just glorified guns, and modern 40k's most psychic powers are just another ranged attack or something like that. So I'm wondering what else he's got. Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. Yeah, not as powerful, not quite as powerful as Mephiston, but definitely able to alter the battlefield.
Mr. Mike the Grail, it's currently 12 a.m. and I have to wake up at 6, but I'm stratified to know that only the sons of the gods and the gods themselves are above my king, Kaldor Draco. Have a good night, everyone. God bless. Thank you, Mr. Mike the Grail. We appreciate seeing you. Speaking of the gods, I think I'd actually like to, we have an hour left, and I'd like to kind of spend that on some of these other characters. So if I'm okay, if it's okay with you, I'd like to address all three of the remaining Chaos Gods at once.
Yeah, okay, go on.
So I think Nurgle is stronger than Khorne.
Yeah.
I think Slaanesh is stronger than Nurgle. And I think Tzeentch is stronger than Slaanesh. And I think that's the breakdown, is Emperor Tzeentch just strictly on psychic stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Strictly on psychic stuff, nothing else. And honestly, all four of the Chaos Gods are just kind of a big, we're talking tiny degrees.
Yeah.
Tiny degrees. That's what I'm thinking. So don't read too much into the fact of the order. I would argue Tzeentch is clearly the strongest and Khorne is clearly the weakest, but the other two, who knows? With psychic stuff. What do you think?
That's fair. No, I think that's fair. I mean, if we're talking just pure psychic powers, yeah, and psychic ability and reality warping, because Tzeentch is able to do a lot of different things, whereas the others are much more, a bit more rigid in how their psychic force manifests. Nurgle's got mutations, sure, but they're generally, around morbidity of the body and diseases and plagues and so forth, and strange growths. And in the same way, Slaanesh is much the same like that. Again, there's a particular kind of expectation of what those are, and the same with their psychic powers, whereas psychic abilities and spells and so forth that they might manifest and so forth, whereas Tzeentch is just like it's a grab bag of anything and everything.
Okay, well, as long as you're okay with that listing, we can come back. We can always do a final check and readjust, but I think that's a good place to start.
Maybe Nurgle might be a bit more powerful than Slaanesh, because everything dies.
Fair enough. I don't mind. The two in the middle are the most muddy, in my opinion, so I'm fine with changing those. But now we get to talk about Gideon Ravenor.
Oh,
good old Gideon Ravenor.
Right. So here we are. We've got a human Psyker who has also had some tutelage or knowledge from the Eldari, is able to use some of the Eldari runes, if I remember rightly. So is aware of their runic.
I think he can read them.
Sorcery. He can read them.
I think, doesn't he have one with him?
He definitely has one. He's also able to project project himself essentially into his agents. So he can essentially be eyes and voice and knowledge and mind across many places on I say the battlefield. So again, it's kind of a weird one, because is he exceptionally strong, or is it more that he's got a diversity of abilities that makes him quite broad in his abilities and his planning, and is able to enact larger, grander things without being, again, so bombastic in how he achieves them?
He has been described as one of the strongest Psykers in the Imperium, but that is usually applied to non-Space Marines, just to be really clear. Typically does not apply to Space Marines. So it would argue that he is, certainly delete everyone in the room strong.
He can mostly pop it. He can mostly do scanners on them, right? He can mostly pop everyone's brains, scanner style.
He can project his consciousness across great distances. He can engage in psychic duels while his body lies motionless, and he's got a Professor X type chair.
He's got Captain Pike's chair from original series. He's got a beat chair.
Yeah, but it's got psi amplifiers built into it, which makes him very, very strong. He played a key role in saving the material universe from destruction. So
I don't know. Everyone seems to. I mean, if you look at the supposed good guys on our list, I think everyone, to a degree, has helped save the universe in some way.
Well, there's a thing we like to say here on Lorebeards 40K, and that is the thing I like to say more than anyone else, and that is there are no good guys at 40K. There's only degrees of bad.
Of course, yeah.
but I think Ravenor is definitely not just strong.
No, he's not. I think I'd be happy with delete everyone in the room, possibly because he could mostly manifest as most of the people in the room to kill each other.
Is he stronger than Heinrichs?
Oh,
I'd argue he's more skilled. I'd argue he's definitely more skilled.
He's definitely more skilled. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. That's a difficult question.
I like that I'm stumping you occasionally on the.
Who have we got else on delete everyone in the room there? We've got
Aldrich Voldis, Aladius Caucasian, and Heinrich von Calix.
Yeah.
So a Grey Knight head librarian of the Grey Knights, the Farseer of Alatok who saw the Calexis Temple, and Heinrich.
Yeah, I think we can be happy he's not as powerful as the first two, but he's somewhere possibly outranking Heinrich.
And he does use Wraithbone amulets. That's how he's able to channel his presence to the other members of his team. And he did study with the Eldari, so it's fair that he is stronger than most Psykers. That's probably a good place to put him.
Again, it's that thing of if even a little bit of training from the Eldari combined with the raw unleashed potential of the human psychic soul. That's a dangerous combination.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's a cool character too. I really like him. Are you looking forward to the next book in that series?
I've been out of the loop on some of them, but I do need to dive back into. I've mainly been more interested in the noir kind of crime stuff.
Yeah, those are good.
Just because I like street level. Street level 40k, but that's because I like Necromunda. Like, yeah, there's these godlike entities going around the galaxy. I don't care. I'm really interested in this gang with a stub gun.
No, I'm with you on that. I do tend to prefer some of the smaller scale stuff. I just finished Hell's Last, which is about Minka Lesk. She's a captain in the Cadians, and it's really well written. Justin Hill is an excellent author. But now we get to talk about Sanguinius, the great angel, the Primarch of the Blood Angels. He's a very interesting character. I'm gonna say this, Chris. I think what's interesting about Sanguinius in terms of psychic ability is that he didn't have any skill, like no skill. He all of his abilities are completely uncontrolled, but he had significant strength, and you can see that in the impact of his death above all, where the psychic backlash of his death affects all of his sons 10,000 years later.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, regardless of the fact that he has no skill and no actual no control over his abilities.
So are we happy to maybe, I'm just trying to think of what
he did have a similar ability to see the future, although he could only see one thing.
Yeah.
Him and Curse shared the ability to see the future, but in Sanguinius' case, the only thing he could really see with clarity was his own death.
Yeah. See, I think that puts him. I feel like, again, I mean, is he even affects the entire battlefield, because he's not unleashing, he's not wielding this psychic abilities, and he's really only got that ability to see his own death. So,
but there's also the Black Rage, which is a psychic manifestation. I mean, unless you believe it's a warp entity built into their genetic code, which I don't know if that's true, because that's from a novel.
Yeah,
who knows?
I mean, I guess we could put effects on the entire battlefield, because if he's the type of character where it's more that psychic ability, he more embodies rather than commands it. And that's what allows him to therefore, face monumental, demonic entities and so forth in battle.
Right.
The entire battlefield is, I think, fair.
This is the impact of skill.
Yeah.
Feats. This is a rare case where we have someone where it's all strength, no skill, no feats. Well, unless you count the Black Rage. But even so, yeah, is Conrad a better Psyker? Unquestionably. Conrad's a better Psyker. Is Mephiston a better Psyker? Unquestionably. Is Najal a better Psyker? Yes.
Definitely.
But the strength of his power does have to count for something. We got a comment here. He one shot a Titan from a Thunderhawk but did he do it with psychic powers, or did he do it with his spear? That's the question I have for you. Because I don't think it was the psychic powers.
Yeah. So who's
his AOE aura? It's I mean, he does aura farm. Sanguinius is, and I mean, you could technically argue that his beloved by all ability is kind of psychic, maybe. Possibly.
I mean, but that puts him, I guess, and that puts you in that muddy place, though. Perhaps he's more like, in some respects, he's a bit like a saint in that respect as well. Like again, it's an ability, but it's like, so it's an aura of effect. It's not something that innately that they're consciously controlling.
Right. I do see a comment here from Rush. Rush, big respect to you, sir. I know you're a fan. The spear it channels psychic energy. It's not unlike someone using a las cannon. I mean, yes, it is something that he carries and is particular to him. But it is not.
It's sticking a fork in a power supply.
It's more tech, yeah. It's more tech, and if it is channeling his psychic strength, that's cool. But is that the same as him doing it psychically? Right.
It's the same thing with like Eisenhorn and his force staff. I mean, yeah, right. He can like use it to blast people, but that's just because it's just an outlet for the power. It's not really. he's not really doing much else with it.
And according to what I'm reading here too, the blast that he gets from that thing is kind of a once per day kind of ability. It's
right. So he has to charge his battery up again as well. Fine.
Well, it's a weapon of last resort is kind of what I've read. So it did work for Rafin. Yes, that's great. Rafin and his brother are. It's a very interesting story with that. I do love that whole deal. Archeo and Rafin. Those are the two that were dealing with the spear. In the James Swallow's Blood Angel books, if you remember, where Fabius Bile basically transforms one of the Blood Angels into a fake consanguineous to cause problems within the chapter. So yes, I think Sanguinius is in a good spot. And we have enough time to go through the rest of the list, which I'm happy for. Sarpedon. Do you know Sarpedon?
Which one's
He is the chapter master of the Soul Drinkers.
I'm not as up to date on that one. Let me just have a quick Google.
Yeah, they're from book series that was released in the mid to late 2000s by Nathan Long. The Soul Drinkers chapter is a successor chapter of the Imperial Fists. Sarpedon got mutated by exposure to the warp, but he and his chapter remained loyal and tried very hard to not damage the Imperium or harm the Imperium, but they ended up having to kind of scurry away from a lot of centers of power. A rare example of a loyalist renegade chapter.
Yeah, strikes me as not, powerful, yeah, for a librarian. Is he more powerful than the Stormcaller? He seems capable of dueling other quite powerful either demons or librarians, but really is he affecting the entire battlefield with his abilities?
Well, he's got a power called the Hell, which is a unique talent. A unique talent that kind of puts terrifying visions and friend to foe alike across a pretty broad region. It's not as useful as Najal's storm ability, but it has a big area of effect.
Yeah.
And aside from that, he's really just a librarian.
Yeah. So is he top end delete everyone in the room, or is he just exceptionally strong?
For me, I put him here. I put him.
Yeah.
Actually, I might put him. I might actually give Aeliel the edge because Shadow Seers can do that. A Shadow Seer would look at the Hell and say, "Wow, that's nice.
That's pretty. Yeah,
that's pretty, but I could do better." I would say stronger than Eisenhorn is what I'd say.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So that's where I think he lives, is in exceptionally strong. Are any Soul Drinker fans in the house? Soul Drinkers have the Arachnid mutation for their leader, or am I thinking of someone else? No, this is the guy that basically turned into a Drider. Yeah, this is that guy. Another lesser-known librarian is Severian Loth of the Red Scorpions. This, of course, was Forge World's own Space Marine chapter that has kind of disappeared ever since Forge World kind of disappeared. They just kind of reabsorbed it into.
They just make resin models. Mainline GW just has resin models made that they call. I can't remember. They've got a different term now. They're not special. I think they're just advanced kits or something, and they're not distinguished from everything else as Forge World.
So Loth is not just a librarian; he's the chief librarian of the Red Scorpions. But he is also one of the most tactically flexible of those librarians because he can choose from several disciplines instead of just one. Even so, in terms of rules and whatnot, he is considered mastery level 3, which is definitely lower than Mephiston and Nijal Stormcaller. So I would say Severin Loth is a good example of like a strong Space Marine librarian, which means he's exceptionally strong. I'm not sure if he's stronger than Eisenhorn. Probably.
Possibly, yeah, possibly. I mean, again, like Eisenhorn, though, it's the question of power versus skill.
Mm-hmm.
And Eisenhorn does know a lot of nasty little tricks because he's a little bit rogue.
I think maybe somewhere that's around where he belongs. I think. Got a comment from Ricardo Andre. The ritual Kuhiria to awaken Eniad is Eldrad's greatest feat. Okay, so Eldrad, you're right. Eldrad did try to raise a god. He failed, but he only failed because he wasn't given enough time. I think moving up Eldrad to demigod level, he's pretty goddamn strong. That's reasonable. And he is considered one of the strongest Psykers in the whole. Him and Malkador being on the same level doesn't bother me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. I would not put him any higher on this list. I think that's about where we're at. And now we come to the Doom of Malantai, our first Tyrannid Psyker. The Doom of Malantai. Now, this guy, of course, is a named Zoanthrope. And he's uniquely mutated, so Zoanthropes are already very highly psychically powerful creatures. And this one developed the ability to feed on souls and the psychic energy of its victims rather than just their flesh. And it was infamous for the destruction of the craft world Malantai, which is why it's called the Doom of Malantai. And it consumed the entire psychic population of that craft world that elevated itself to near godhood in the process. The Doom just got stronger with every soul it ate, and it ate a whole craft world full of Eldari, that's not good. It was described as destroying Eldari Titans in that battle, ripping apart those Wraithbone war constructs with its psychic abilities. That's not weak at all.
It's a curious creature, isn't it? Because it's by feeding on so many souls, it almost is becoming its own independent entity of the hive mind, you could almost argue.
Which we're going to talk about next after this guy.
It's quite a curious one in that respect. I mean, it brings up the idea of, is it possible that such an entity could become independent, fully independent of the hive mind and be its own new hive mind-like psychic entity?
Possibly. If you're asking if it's like a baby hive mind, maybe that's an interesting idea. I don't think it could become independent unless it was going to sort of spawn off a new hive fleet, if you will.
Yeah, I kind of see it like the way I imagine it's like if you had like you consider in Star Trek with the Borg and you've got the Borg Queen,
right?
Essentially, what if another like bees, another queen was born? Is it kind of is it that sort of potential? It creates its own little hive, and so I'm sure it could be possible, and we know things can be severed from the hive mind. You only have to look at the Malstrain gene stealers in Necromunda, because they are purposely have been severed from the hive mind for the danger they present, because they're kind of like what happened, like in nature where you get that that like whether it's like the fungus that takes over spiders and controls them and then allows itself to proliferate. It's kind of like that. So it's not out. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary for something to be severed from the hive mind and yet still be tyrannid.
I don't think it's a demigod level.
Oh no.
But I would certainly put it at the top of Citywide. Because it destroyed the craft world.
It's citywide up to almost planetary scale. I mean, it did devour a craft world's entire infinity circuit of souls as well. So that's a lot of dead Eldari that also got gobbled up along the way.
And I think this is our case of feats being the biggest thing by far. because zoanthropes are strong. I mean, I would certainly say a zoanthrope is strong to exceptionally strong. But the defeat is what pushes it all the way up to citywide. Just being able to rip up and devouring so many Eldari souls, which we already have Eldari on this list as strong entries. So being a couple steps down from Eldrad makes sense. Being a couple steps up from Aeliel, 3 steps up from Aeliel makes sense. 2 steps above Aladrios, that is, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
I think the problem is that while we know what it's done, as in what it's eaten, and the potential of that, knowing what, the Emperor survives off many souls, we know that orcs are powered by the Gestalt and Gestalt psychic power of all their souls. We can draw some we can extrapolate from that to know that it likely has potential. It's just not been written down that it's done something with that power, other than it gobbled up an entire craft world. I'm sure with all of that power, then it emits. If it landed on some planet, it could mostly emit some horrific planetary scale psychic scream or something like that.
So, are you happy with where it is?
Yeah, because it's some of its stuff is indeterminate. We don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of lore about it. But I'm just gonna take a direct action here, and I want you to comment.
Wait. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
The hive mind as an entity commands such a vast array of beings. So not just the variety, but the sheer number.
Yeah, I think
the fact that it can cut off entire planets or systems or sectors from the warp
and people. And people.
And people.
I think what we can say with it though is that because it's a Gestalt entity and therefore it's quite spread out over the various hive fleets, that's mostly what makes it not as strong as, say, a Chaos God. So again, it's this whole thing of like, yes, it's an entity in the warp, but it's also quite anchored with the physical. Mm-hmm. And so if by some means, and it's never, because do Tyranids have souls? I don't know. Like if it was fully unanchored from the physical and allowed to coalesce as a singular in a more concentrated form, it's likely as powerful as one of the Chaos Gods. But the process of doing that then would mostly mean it can't sustain itself because Tyranids innately don't have souls to worship it and have emotions and stuff to power it. So it has to anchor itself to have that power.
Interesting, Chris. You just made a bold statement. You said Tyranids don't have souls. That's interesting. Well, you could argue that the hive mind is a
singular soul that's spread. Yeah,
it's a massive. It's in that case it would be the biggest and strongest soul in all of 40K, right? Like that's not.
Yeah.
If a soul is not a god, then it's the biggest soul.
I think the point is that like the Emperor. I think the Emperor is interesting in that. Well, first of all, he was made up of many souls, so. That's likely, and those souls were all mostly individually, all I guess were likely as powerful or almost as powerful as Malkador. So I think it's that thing like you've got to get to the point where you have the ability to, once you're untethered from your physical self, you can self-propagate by some means, and that obviously either means you have worship or people sacrifice themselves to you. And because of how Tyranids operate and are, I think the moment the hive mind is untethered from the physical, nothing is there to worship it, so it'll just wither. So it has to be tied to it. So in that respect, it's different to say the orcs who have a Gestalt, who have the Gestalt element of the Wa, but that's because it's almost like all of their portions of their worship and everything combines together, a bit like how people pray to the Emperor. So definitely it's a singular soul though for the Tyranids. I think that's a fair statement.
we have a whole episode on the power of faith, and we talked about souls quite a bit. I'd love to have you join us for more episodes of Lorebeards because you have a really interesting perspective on this.
I was going to actually, I just had another thought. The other thing that's so interesting that feeds into that, maybe, well, that's a terrifying thought. The thing that would enable the propagation of the Tyranid all soul, if we call it that, if it was severed from the physical, the thing that would propagate it potentially are gene stealer hybrids.
Right, the cults. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can generate beacons and they can do
And
a lot
worship
of stuff.
it and so forth.
Yeah, and to give it that power in the work. That's an interesting idea.
I'm not going to lie, though. I do love playing as gene stealer cults and Necromunda. They're great fun.
Well, speaking of the hive mind, let's talk about Vero Tigurius, the chief librarian of the Ultramarines. Now, he is your bog standard librarian, chief librarian, I guess, with one exception. He has a pretty massive feat that he was able to accomplish that only he has been able to accomplish. Can you guess what that is?
I'm trying to think. What did he do that only he could do?
He made direct contact with the hive mind and survived.
Oh, yes.
Survived with his sanity intact, even more so. And he was able to analyze the hive mind, gain information from it to draw out some of the thoughts and plans and locations that the hive mind knew. And this is considered nearly impossible to do this, but he did it. And every other Psyker in the lore who's attempted to touch the hive mind has been driven insane or killed.
I mean, that's like, you know, be able to basically put your hand on a burning furnace of energy and survive it. You know, that's definitely, I don't know, again, that's quite a difficult one because he's not technically wielding huge powers that are destroying cities and so forth, but it's that raw, it's not the raw potential, it's the absolute skill and control, which kind of puts him in that Mephiston kind of area. Mephiston area, because it's that skill.
But he lacks the feats. He doesn't. I mean,
yeah.
The hive mind is the only thing he was able to do. I would say, is he stronger than Ezekiel? First question.
Well, that's a tough one. And he doesn't really have much more really to enable him to do stuff. So I mean, I was going to say, I was just looking at his war gear. I mean, he's got the Hood of Hellfire.
Metal.
Which, again, but that's an item. It's a bit like having a force staff or though, I mean, or psychic roll. Though he also, I was just looking at this. I mean, that's quite an impressive possession to have. He has the force staff of Malkador the Sigilite. So, you know, but those are all tools and channels for clearly the power he has.
I think he's stronger than Ezekiel. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Is he stronger than Aldrich Valdus?
I mean, I think the thing is he has the power, but it's not fully realized yet.
So bottom of delete or top of exceptionally strong?
It's bottom of delete everyone in the room. He can mostly, like, you know, psychically blast everyone in the room. No problem. And
now we're down to our last two characters, both of whose names start with Z. We're in the Z team. Zaraphiston. Do you know who Zaraphiston is?
Rings a bell. I'm going to look it up now to see if it reminds me of anything.
If you played the Dawn of War games, you would know him.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's been a while since I played Dawn of War, and I don't think I didn't even get that far through. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're dealing with a Black Legion sorcerer here, and senior advisor to Abaddon the Despoiler.
Originally a member of the Thousand Sons as well.
Yeah. I mean, we're a bit limited here on, I guess it depends upon, like, Again, he can foresee the future to a degree. He's not deleting people, deleting cities. He's likely, as then some sort of sorcerer and precognitive abilities, that likely puts him in effects in the entire battlefield. And after all, he mostly leads, thousands of Marines in battle. So I'd be happy with him at about somewhere between effects the bottom end of effects on the entire battlefield.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have actually put him at the bottom of exceptionally strong. I don't feel like there's anything that makes him that different from a typical Chaos Sorcerer, which is a Space Marine Librarian. But that's interesting. You see him as much stronger than I do. Why?
I think it's because again, it's that scale of how your power could manifest. That if you do have, I think basically seeing the future is a funny little ability because it's so broad in its scope of the effect it can have. So it's not raw power. It's definitely it's something that has to be combined with your knowledge and experience and planning to get the most out of. And that seems very Tzeentchian anyway.
He's definitely a Tzeentchian sorcerer for sure.
But is there anything more on another? I'm just checking another thing. No, it's all kind of limited on what else is there.
Not a lot of lore about this guy.
I mean, if he's a Tzeentchian sorcerer, maybe he's able to wield particularly powerful blasts of warp fire. It's possibly delete everyone in the room, possibly at the bottom of that or middle.
I would be happy with him here. This is okay, but he's
a named villain for the computer game as well. So right. he's got to be good at something to be of merit for that.
I feel bad for Ezekiel. But, now we go to our very first orc psyker. Old Zogwart, the greatest weird boy in the galaxy. Also a snakebite freebooter, which I think is fun.
I mean, again, now we're into the fun thing of he's an orc, which it depends the day of the week, doesn't it, on how powerful he's going to be? Because and also you've got the danger of for any weird boy is that
the head can explode.
The head can explode, yeah. So he has the raw potential to do monumental amounts of destruction with his abilities, but it's going to be situational. It's going to lack the ability to be of finesse in using that power. Again, there's not too much details on him other than the few places. I mean, he was in 7th edition and 4th edition. Great.
I could tell you a couple of things he's done. He's wiped out an entire Imperial Guard company.
That's not that big a challenge.
He says it was mostly Mork, according to him. But also, he has a unique ability to transform enemy characters into squigs.
I mean, does that have limitations?
As far as we know, he can do it to basically anybody because his rules are very old.
So we say if we're able to say he's able to do that to Eldred Ulthuan, then that's pretty powerful.
And I wouldn't say that's impossible. I would say it's very likely.
That's the thing. It's not impossible because he's an orc. Literally everything is possible with them. So I don't know where we put this guy. He's he's everywhere and nowhere.
He's not a god. He's not a demigod. He can't affect a planet. I think we have to put him somewhere below the top 4. Is he just a strong psyker? He kind of is, but he's also kind of exceptionally strong because he's got that weird ability.
Let's put him at top level of delete everyone in the room because effects on the entire battlefield is pretty impressive if you can take out all of a whole company or more of Imperial Guardsmen.
That's certainly delete everyone in the room. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's definitely an effect, and that's definitely affects an entire battlefield of a sort. I don't think he'd be able to achieve the same feat if he was against some Space Marines doing the same. So, yeah, I think delete everyone in the room, and that might just be because he pops. He might just,
yeah, maybe just self-destruct. Ricky
yeah,
Chapman, thank you for the super chat. DeWag is calling. Yes, it is. So this is our list. I think what's interesting to me is we only have 2 at the very bottom, and only one of those is from a super chat.
yeah, right. I think we need to return Be'lakor where we thought he was to really appreciate the spread of it, because Be'lakor we did have place at demigod level.
We did have place at demigod,
but also he's definitely, I feel, at the bottom end of the demigods there.
If he was, I would put him there. Yeah, he's very powerful. Just I don't know. He feels irrelevant. That's the problem.
He's a bit Skeletor in that respect.
He's
got the power, but he messes up.
The top tier, ludicrously strong. Those all ring true to me, and I think the placement is accurate. Godlike, the only entry in Godlike is the Hive Mind. Demigod level, Magnus, Kaldor Drago, Malkador, Eldred, Ulthred. Those are big fucking names in 40K. I think that's legit. Like, right? You know, if I say to a typical 40K fan, hey, do you know Iskandar Khayan? They're going to be like, who? But if I say, do you know Eldred Ulthred? They'd be like, hell yeah, I know Eldred Ulthred. So it feels good that the really big names of 40K do have a good high spot. Lorgar feels a little high, but at the same time, I'm not sure where else to put him. As Ahriman feels maybe a little high. Kairos maybe feels a little bit low, but I don't know where else to put him. The planetary scale is all full of question marks for me.
Yeah,
they're all question marks. Citywide, Burning Princess, definitely. Mortarion, I think we made a good argument. And I think we made a good argument for Doom and Malantai. Because the destruction of Malantai was not just the Doom. There was a whole, group of Tyranids there. Affects an entire battlefield. Kurz, Mephiston, Null Stormcaller, and Sanguinius. Those are also big names. It's interesting that they sit so low, but it's just in comparison to everything else, right? Like, this is all about relativity, right? Like, what's relative to something else. Because Sanguinius does have, the impact of his death alone is massive, but he didn't have any really psychic abilities other than that, except to see his own death. Niall Stormcaller being able to affect the entire battlefield. Yes, he can. And that's about it. Like, he doesn't really have anything else going for him. Mephiston is probably the strongest Space Marine librarian, the loyalist Space Marine librarian in existence, outside of Kaldor Drago.
Yeah.
That makes sense for him.
Anyone else that we didn't put on our list for the sake of time?
Runners up. Yeah, by all means, let's talk about the honorable mentions.
There must be some that people in chat have said should have been on here.
Amberly Vale, the Inquisitor from the Countess Kane novels. She's not psychic though. She has a Psyker in her retinue that she uses for that. Let's see. There's probably a bunch of greater demons. The Scribe of Zinch or the Changeling. There's probably a lot of named greater demons we didn't put on there. I think we have the only named Tyranid Psyker that was worthwhile, though. The only named Orc Weird Boy that I could find. Other Primarchs, possibly?
Possibly, yeah. There would be
Corvus Corax's maybe, sort of, possibly. He's got that weird ability to turn invisible. The Khan. None of the other Primarchs really have that much psychically going on, so I feel like we got the majority of those. We didn't put Typhon on here. Typhon or Typhus.
Yeah.
would have been probably pretty good to put on the list. Who feels more like a sorcerer? Rush? Typhus?
Out of who? Sorry.
Planetary scale. I'm not sure. Some of these comments come up, and I'm not. It's after we're talked about it, so I'm not sure. Corax. Corax feels more like a sorcerer. It's definitely not sorcery because he didn't make a deal with any warp entity to do it, as far as we know. Anyway, we don't know a lot about Corax, so maybe, but I don't think so. The bottom two tiers, the only person who feels out of place there is Ezekiel because he's just been around for so long. And I'm such a big Dark Angels fan. I'm like, I want him to be stronger, but there's nothing really else going for him besides, he created his own discipline.
Yeah,
which is not nothing, but it's not touching the hive mind.
I mean, there's also some. I guess there's some. They're not named, but there's also, if we look at Tyranids, we could have talked about, like, say, a Gene Stealer Broodlord. Because again, that's kind of more particular because you get that on a planet, and but again, how much of its power is just because it's a shard of the greater hive mind. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other named Psykers in some of the in the role-play game books from either Wrath and Glory or before then.
Someone's saying the Leagues of Votann are not represented here. Do the Votann have Psykers?
I thought they had more. It was more kind of like runic sorcery kind of stuff. But then I'm not actually that up to date on Votann of all things.
That's a weak point for me too. I'd have to look that up. But I'll look into it. I want to move Aldrich Voldus down a little bit, maybe, but I don't know. That's Aldrich Voldus he's a character I don't know much about besides the fact that he is the head of the librarians for the Grey Knights, which are already like super psychers. So it's really hard to pull him down, but I kind of want to. Be'lakor was at planetary scale before the super chat. Was he? Yeah, well, he was definitely minimum planetary. I think Eldrad is more powerful than Malkador, if only slightly. Thank you, Ricardo. We're just gonna have to disagree on that one, I'm afraid. Again, it's a case of subtlety versus spectacular, and Malkador's just done more spectacular stuff, possibly. And we can both agree that the Eldari in general are nerfed by Slaanesh to a degree as well.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a super chat from Ricky Chapman. Talker, the Orc Psyker with quirk knowledge. The quirks, man. That's a fascinating topic. We were actually debating, we talked about the Eye of Terror last week. Or actually, was it last week? Yeah, it might have been. Anyway, we talked about the Eye of Terror, and yeah, it was the Saturday. And during that discussion, we were just saying how there's all these weak points between the real world, the material world, and the warp, the materium and the immaterium. And one of those became the Eye of Terror. But we know that the Eye of Terror was opened by Slaanesh's birth, but we also know that something must have been there before that during the War in Heaven, because the Necrons built all their pylons to try to keep that particular thing closed. So the question was, what opened all the rifts between the real world and the Immaterium? And I was saying, well, it has to be something from the Old One's side. It has to be either the Old Ones, the Jakaro, the Eldari, or the Krorks. And my first thought was that the Krorks being responsible for it would actually be interesting, because that would give you a point to look at and say, here's where they started evolving from down to the Orcs from the Krorks. But the evidence points to the Eldari Dominion, because the Eldar have weapons that rip open holes between the material world and the immaterial world. They have the distortion cannons.
Well, I think I would have gone down the route. It's not to do with they ripped open because it's part of their weapons. It's more like, I feel it's likely a hole that had to exist for the Old Ones to likely travel through to wherever they originally came from. So there's that aspect. And it's a means to pull raw stuff of the warp, the Immaterium, to then to put into to power the weapons themselves. So it's almost like, it's like a well that you open up, and then obviously it floods as it goes out of control.
Well, and the fact that it wasn't super well planned out is why I was thinking Quarks, but it could be old ones too. The old ones are the only ones who know, and they're all dead. So fun note here. One thing we did talk about when we discussed the Phoenix Lords is we talked about Eldrad as a potential example of someone who is on a Phoenix Lord's level without being one of those warrior saints of the Eldari. And we said he's kind of like a version of an Exarch or an Autarch of the Path of the Seer, because he does seem locked into it. He does seem like this is his whole life, his whole existence, and that fact may elevate him a bit in terms of power and ability, other than just being a really old and skilled Farseer.
I was just trying to think, I was just trying to remember if there was anything when I had a subscription to Warhammer Plus, whether there was anything to do with Psykers in any of the particular Hammer and Bolter, in particular the animations. I do know there was some interesting things in what was it on Warhammer Plus? It was the kind of noir, black and white show. Can't remember its name. That's terrible. It's been literally a few years since I watched it. But there's a particular animation on Warhammer Plus which is a noir like series, and there's a plot line to do with sacrificing psychers and creating from them a substance that is then used by this nefarious inquisitor. Where is that when I can find it? But I can't remember its name.
You know as well as I do that inquisitors have only our best interests at heart.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Only our best. It's in Interrogator. That's a really good animation series to watch on Warhammer Plus. Like literally just subscribed for a month and just binge watch that. I think it's a really good way of exploring the Inquisition's kind of troublesome relationship with psychics and emergent psychics, especially with the Great Rift having opened.
Ironic, since the Inquisition was founded by Malkador.
Yes.
Now, speaking of subscriptions, this would be a good time for me to say, if you guys have enjoyed our tier listing of all these really powerful psychers in the grim darkness of the far future, do us a favor, hit the like button and the subscribe button to help the algorithm spread our heresy to even more unsuspecting minds. We would appreciate it. Everyone, please give me a big round of applause for Chris Hanley for showing up here today. He's a great author. He's been doing a lot of good work in the Warhammer 40K roleplay space. And I mean, he's got some really cool projects ahead of him. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. I appreciate you being my co-host as we walked the line of all these powerful psychers.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's the thing. There's so much 40K stuff that the more you know, the more you forget as well on these things. It's been a lot of fun going through that, and it'll be cool to explore some other interesting topics when I'm maybe slightly less distracted by real life issues that happened today, but oh well.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Chris, where can people find you on the internet if they want to know more about you and Darker Days and the stuff that you're into?
So, Darker Days Radio, you can find www.darker-days.org. That's for the podcast. There is over 300 episodes on there and counting, dating back over 16 years worth of horror RPGs, mainly World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness, but we've got episodes that are focused on Warhammer and Iron Kingdoms. We have a YouTube that's mainly right now taken up by me doing War Machine unboxings and hobby stuff and talking about that. There is coming up soon from myself and Hamilton and others at Theatre Macabre. We've got a Imperium Maledictum live play where we've played through one of the introductory scenario called Chemical Burn, and then we're hopefully going to do the rest of the Vol adventures from that game. So I'm games master for that. And then you can find me on at Dr. Ether on things like Instagram and Threads and Blue Sky, because I do not use Twitch, not Twitch, Twitter, X, whatever the hell it is.
I still call it Twitter. I'm that guy. I'm that guy. Well, I could say I'd love to sit down and talk to you more. I would love to hear like your thoughts on where War Machine sits in the hierarchy of miniature games right now, because it has fallen far from where it once lived.
True. Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. I mean, there's a lot of interesting lore and things which I think are born out of lessons learned from what Games Workshop has done and the path traveled by that. So yeah, it's a fun time to explore that setting.
Well, if you ever want a guest to come on Darker Days and just talk about random stuff, either War Machine or 40K, I'd love to join you. Yeah,
we should get you back, because I mean, you've been on. We've got. I mean, on the YouTube, there's a playthrough. Obviously, you play through Wrath and Glory that I ran for that stream game a while back. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to figure something out soon.
Yeah. By the way, Chris is one of the guys that helped me make Wrath and Glory. So, if you like that game, you should thank Chris. He was a big help. And we are going to have another episode of Lorebeards 40K on Saturday, and it looks like we will be discussing the Webway. We put up polls for people to vote on what we're going to talk about. Right now, the Webway is in the lead. If you want to see the Anchorite, or if you want to see us talk about the Dark Muses are a fun thing to discuss. Chris, you know about them, right?
Oh yeah, Dark Muses are, I think, a really interesting topic about the Drukhari that's really not tapped into enough in current 40K.
I would love to discuss it, but the current vote is for the Webway. So if you want to see something else, go to YouTube and vote. We have a very active Discord for Lorebeards. It is the people that are in our chat are called Lore Seekers. In fact, they are part of that Discord. I'm going to just put a link into the chat there for people if they want to find out where to go for that. And yeah, I am going to be streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/therosswatson. I'll be playing through Space Marine 2 tomorrow. And yeah, you can go check out Harmless Forest Creature Games on DriveThruRPG to see more of my RPG work. That's up for sale. Chris, your stuff's on DriveThru as well. Primarily,
everything. Pretty much everything I've worked on is on DriveThruRPG. Yeah.
But you don't have your own studio. It's under.
No, not yet. We are working on. I think it's a little too early to say there are. Like I say, there's stuff I'm doing with Le Destroy. We are getting the quick start out for Trash Humanism soon, so that's at layout. There will be news about forthcoming core book soon. There is another project I'm involved in, which is far too early, that I'm a developer for.
Nice.
And then there's another smaller project which will be of interest to people that like Warhammer 40,000, which we will reveal soon. And I think I'm just editor on that one and just kind of adding some input and development insight on it. But yeah, again, that's people like who are part of Dark Days Radio who are propelling that forward. So that we will do may well just go to crowdfunding as well.
Well, good luck with that, sir. I really am glad you're staying busy and staying involved. I have largely retired, I guess. I'm mostly doing like the YouTube thing now and the Twitch streaming, but yeah, that's super cool, man. Anyway, once again, thanks to everybody in the Discord for showing up. Thanks to Chris Hanley, and we will see you guys on Saturday. And remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only lore. I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.